Welcome to Viera, Florida for spring training baseball. A perfect evening for Nats fans arriving in full force to lend their support. The Tigers in town to face the Nats with Edwin Jackson on the mound on Masson HD.
Washington Nationals baseball.
It's beautiful in Florida. Punch your ticket for some spring training baseball with us. We have a twilight game for you tonight. Tigers are hitting 280. On here, pick up some Natalie attired things and celebrate some spring training in 2012 coming up. We're optimistic about what's ahead for this baseball club, and the Nats come into this game with a record of 5-3. The Tigers are 6-1. That's second best to Toronto's 9-2 down here in Florida. Austin Jackson's a really good leadoff guy with some speed and some power. Johnny Peralta can pick it at short, and they'll have him batting fifth. Chris Fielder and Miguel Cabrera, neither of them are here with the Tigers on this road trip from Lakeland. So we'll get a look at some of their young established guys and some of their young guys we don't know a whole lot about, but they are hitting almost 290 this spring. So here's Edwin Jackson. First of all, in the spring, couple of starts, 6 innings. As FP mentioned earlier, unscored upon, only 3 hits, and he has a win down here.
Yeah, we're excited to see Edwin Jackson today for the first time. Nats fans getting a peek at the newest Nat pitcher. 2-seam fastball, 4-seam fastball. Throw it 94 to 98. They'll throw a changeup to lefties, an occasional curve. Not afraid to pitch inside. We watched a lot of video on him today, and he will definitely go in to win versus right-handers. On fastballs last year, and we got this stat today. I thought it was a great stat. That he threw 96 miles an hour or above. He surrendered only 4 hits last year. So he'll bring the turbo fastball with 2 strikes. He'll sit around 94, 95, but with 2 strikes, he'll hump up. Let's set the defense tonight for the Nationals. Michaels, Carroll, and Worth in the outfield. Desmond and Zimmerman on the left side. Espinosa and DeRosa on the right side. Doing the catching, Wilson Ramos.
Nationals pitching staff, by the way, down here in Florida with a very good ERA of 3.24. How about the Tigers? 2.71. This is a club, well, a couple of clubs maybe could be playing in October, and I think the Tigers the prohibitive favorites in their division. Underway at 6:07. The wind will blow this one over to the right fielder, Jason Worth. We have the usual prevailing wind here blowing toward the right field corner, resulting in some unbelievable fireworks during batting practice today.
Yeah, Michael Morse hit one right over the batting eye, and we thought, you know, that ball's crushed. We looked at each other and said, holy cow, over the batting eye, straightaway center field. And the thing that we found fascinating about that is not one guy said a word about it. They'd seen it before. It wasn't that big a deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice swing.
Here's Andy Dirks, the left fielder. Dirks is a Hutchinson, Kansas product who played 78 games for the Tigers last year, hitting .251. .325 at AAA Toledo. This is a Detroit ball club, of course, loaded for bear offensively, especially with Prince Fielder coming over. Who's better than them in the AL Central? Jackson will take that one and fade it outside a little bit. 2 balls, 1 strike.
We talked to Jim Leland before the game today, Tiger skipper. Guess what his first question was?
Was it about Bryce Harper?
What group is Bryce Harper in? He sat there and watched Bryce as he launched, I'd say, about 15 balls over the palm trees in right field.
I'll tell you, Rick Ankiel put on a show. The Nats have some lively bats, and Rick Eckstein is pleased with his ball club. We'll talk more about that later, at least his club's bats. And Jackson on 2-2 will get in on the hands of Andy Dirks, who will foul it off. Dirks hitting .333 this spring. The Tigers have scored 61 runs in 7 spring training games. I don't know how windy it is over in Lakeland. Hard to believe it's any more lively than it is here. Fastball just missing the top of the zone, 3-2. (12-9) last year for Jackson with a .379 for the White Sox and the world champions in St. Louis. So this Tiger ball club knows him pretty well. That's a nasty breaking ball, really snapping one off for the strikeout.
A good slider right there by Edwin Jackson. Probably his out pitch. He'll climb the ladder with a fastball occasionally, but you talk about his last outing. 4 scoreless innings against the Astros. Faced 1 over the minimum. He said he just got into the rhythm, got into the groove out there. And I think with Edwin Jackson, the big fight every 5th day is to not think too much and go out there. I know there was a concern early in spring training that he might have been tipping his pitches. They told him to forget about it. Just go out there and pitch. And you see the results. Just go out there and be the great athlete that you are, and I think Nats fans are going to fall in love with this guy.
Cleat Thomas, the right fielder. And he will get one high in the air to left. That one's not going anywhere except right to Jason Michaels. And then he drops the ball. The sun is coming over the ballpark from the right field corner. So left field is the sun field here, and that'll be a 2-base error.
That's something you don't see every day. A major league outfielder dropping a routine fly ball, and he's not really shading his eyes right there. I think that ball just caught him in the heel. And he has the shades on. He's got his Oakleys rocking out there in left field. I think that ball just hit him in the heel.
Nationals with their 9th error this spring. Ryan Rayburn will get a chance now with 2 outs.
Been there, done that, and there is no hole deep enough to climb into when you do that. But it happens on occasion.
So Jackson was headed for a very quick first inning. We'll see how many extra pitches he has to throw. Boy, he's got a good breaking ball going tonight, doesn't he?
Absolutely. Wow. Spring training for the broadcasters, too, partner. I looked down and put F7 in my book before he made the play. And we're getting our hacks in up here, too.
I was getting ready. Whiteout hasn't come out just yet. Rayburn hitting .500. He's 5 for 10. And 3 of his hits have left the ballpark. And this is another one if it stays fair. It's hooking, and the error will be costly to the Nats in the first inning. Ryan Rayburn now 6 for 11 with 4 home runs and 13 RBIs.
You know, the wind has died down just a little bit. It was blowing straight in from left field during batting practice. So this is a home run against traffic. Anytime you can turn that wind around in left field, that's showing you got some serious pop. Got the ball right out over the plate, got the head out, and like you said, partner, he's on fire.
Yeah, in this ballpark, the wind will actually keep a ball like that fair. Next up is Johnny Peralta, the shortstop. He's having a good spring at .313. There are not many breaks in this Detroit lineup, even when some of the big boys stay home. Left side, Zimmerman to his left. Ryan gobbles it up, and it's on target over to Mark DeRosa. A couple of unearned runs, and they cash in. Rayburn's 4th homer, 2-0 Tigers. That is up on the top of the light standard out there in straightaway right field. And Rick Ankiel and Bryce Harper both came very close to nesting some fly balls earlier today. Nats are hitting .264 this spring. They've outscored their opponents 43-33 with 9 home runs. Ryan Zimmerman, who needs spring training when you come out of the winter swinging like this guy? Ryan is 7 for 12 with 3 doubles and 2 home runs. Adam LaRoche has been in the lineup the last 3 games, so he gets tonight off. He'll be in the lineup tomorrow over at Disney when the Nats play at Atlanta. And here's a look at Dwayne Belo.
A 9-4 with a 3.13 at AAA Toledo last season. 4-seam fastball, cutter, curveball change. A tight little curveball, and he'll throw that cutter into right-handers, about 88 miles an hour.
Fastball is upstairs to Desmond. Ian having a non-productive spring so far, but he told us before the game he's feeling relaxed at the plate. 3 hits and 28 Bs with an RBI. He thinks a little bit too much has been made out of this whole thing with his batting stance. And the wind blows that ball right off the wall over Cleat Thomas. And it's Desmond into second base barely, as he got a little nonchalant the last 30 feet or so.
I think he thought it was out of the ballpark. And in his defense, I couldn't tell if it hit the back fence or the front fence, but he's looking out there right now, and he thought that was a home run. You look at the stance of Ian Desmond. He's standing more upright this season. He's been working on it the last couple of days, and you see the results. Working on his rhythm at the plate, working on just being relaxed up there. And the one thing that we are not worried about with Ian Desmond is his hustle. The guy plays the game as hard as anybody. He just thought that ball was out of here.
Next up, Danny Espinosa, 4 for 17. And maybe we'll get to see Danny take a left-handed bat or two tonight. That's been a big story down here as he's been getting some help from Mark DeRosa, trying to get a big loop out of his left-handed swing. Right-handed partner, no problem at all. He's power, put the ball pretty much anywhere he wants from this side of the plate.
Yeah, more compact from this side. We're talking to Rick Eckstein today. They said his left-handed swing looks just like his right-handed swing, and that's good news for everybody involved.
And, you know, that's something you don't say about regarding a lot of switch hitters. I remember Ruben Sierra when he first came up, guy who hit for power. They said his swing was identical from both sides, and that seems to be rather rare.
It is. I was a switch hitter. It's almost like having multiple personalities. You got a right-handed swing you got to work on, a left-handed swing you got to work on. One side of the plate's locked in, the other side's scuffling. Sometimes you go 2 weeks without seeing a left-hander, so you're predominantly left-handed and you neglect your right-handed swing, and vice versa. You could go like a couple, 2-3 games seeing all lefties. So the word is with Danny Espinosa that his left-handed swing is nice and short, and the loop is gone.
I tell you, Rick Eckstein really likes what he's been seeing down here from his offense. Espinosa will chop it up the middle. That'll move the runner over. He might beat it out. And Ryan Rayburn doesn't bother to try to throw him out. First and third to lead off the game for the Nats with Zimmerman coming up.
You know, when you're batting second, your main job is to move the runner over. I mean, that's what you do. You execute in the two-hole. So the leadoff double by Desmond. Danny Espinosa doing a nice job of playing the game the right way, moving the runner over. You play the game the right way, good things happen. He was happy with the ground ball to second, but he got the bonus plan and got a knock out of it on top of it. Nice job.
Ryan Zimmerman, 7 hits, 3 doubles, 2 home runs, hitting .583.
One of the first interviews I did last year was with Ryan Zimmerman, and he flat out told me off camera, he's like, FP, I don't need a whole lot of at-bats in spring training. I'm one of those guys that comes to camp ready to hit. Doesn't need a lot of at-bats, and you see the results this year. He told me today, jokingly around the cage, I'm ready to go to Chicago.
Well, if it's 75 degrees up there, we're really onto something.
You know, I told him, I said, it's a great city. You should just go up there right now and meet the team later.
By the way, Ryan wanted to wish his dad a happy birthday yesterday. Keith, I believe, his dad's name, and happy birthday. His mom's birthday's coming up shortly. So a big time for the Zimmermans. Great time to be thinking about birthdays and family and baseball all rolled into one here. Ryan's health will be a big, big factor for the Nats this year. He'll get a piece of that one. The wind will blow it out toward the track. Desmond will score easily. Espinosa's back to tag. He will not challenge the arm of Austin Jackson. Nats are on the board. It's a 2-1 game. And for Zimmerman, his 6th RBI.
I'll tell you what, with the pitching staff that the Nationals have this year, if they can do what they've done so far in this first inning on a consistent basis, get a guy on, move him over, sack fly, score early. Now you're talking about with the 4 or 5 starters they have this year, you play the game like that, put a couple of runs up early, and execute on offense. It's not always about kicking the other team's head and getting 12 hits and 10 runs. If you can do little things like that with the staff they have, they're going to win a lot of baseball games.
Michael Morse has only had 4 official at-bats down here. 2 hits, just 2 ball games with an RBI. Looked okay to us at about 4:30 this afternoon.
Unreal.
Chasing there, and the count quickly 0-2.
And Carp, you made a great point in batting practice. The whole Tigers ball club stopped whatever they were doing and watched Michael Morse hit.
Yes, they did.
Yeah, that's the biggest compliment the opponent can give you when they're stretching and everything kind of stops. But in their defense, he put on quite a display.
0-2. And he wasn't messing around, was he? Dwayne Belo went right after him. That's Belo's 2nd strike out of the spring in 4 innings. And that's 2 outs here with Mark DeRosa coming up.
Yeah, just a 2-strike fastball right down the middle. Michael Morse swung right through it.
The most deceptive 0-2 pitch you'll ever see, but very effective.
No, you know what? As a hitter, sometimes that fastball right down the middle with 2 strikes is a great pitch. Everybody says, oh, well, that's a bad 0-2 pitch. But the last place a hitter's looking, is a fastball center cut right down the middle with 2 strikes. Sometimes it'll surprise you.
What the crowd feels, a generous strike 1 call. Mark DeRosa, 4 hits out of 7 at bats with a home run. And not that home runs are that big of a deal, but Mark hadn't hit one in quite a while. The wrist problem has really taken away some of his pop. Espinosa's picked off, and the throw is errant from Ryan Strebe. No error will be given. It'll just be a stolen base for Danny. Good throw gets him, but they'll normally give a stolen base on that.
You know what, partner? I think a good throw was going to be close. You know, that's a case of Danny Espinosa guessing and going. He went first move right there. Look at the jump he got. You see the speed of Danny Espinosa. That was going to be bang, bang at second. I think you're right. A good throw or a perfect throw gets him.
And it's always a challenging play for a right-handed first baseman. Kind of throwing back across your body there. So Mark DeRosa now, who has an RBI in that homer last week, a chance to tie the game. Nats had the bats out yesterday in an 8-4 win over St. Louis here. Greg DeRosa was trying to level off, take that pitch the other way.
And funny watching Mark DeRosa and BP today. Just working on things, moving the ball all around the field, first round the other way. But he did something I haven't seen a lot of major league hitters do. The last hack of every round, he spread out, choked up on the bat, and hit the ball the other way. I didn't talk to him, but to me, he was working on his 2-strike approach. How many times do you see a guy work on his 2-strike approach in batting practice? And we talked about that at length last year with the Nationals. And you know, it's a veteran guy that puts the ball in play, working on things in batting practice, making the adjustments. I love seeing the fact that he was working on hitting with 2.
Mark only had 86 ABs with the Giants last year. A lot of time on the DL with that wrist. And not that the homer, as I mentioned earlier, means that much from a stat standpoint or anything, but it validates that you're now driving the ball again. And that's what Mark's looking. He's not a big home run hitter. He's a doubles guy. Gap to gap power, and he'll occasionally go deep. But the fact that he can now drive the ball, FP, it's tough enough to hit when everything's feeling good. But when you don't have your wrists and that snap, not much you can do except bump the ball around the field.
Well, anytime you have an injury as a hitter, what you do is you compensate. You know, if your wrist doesn't feel good, your knee doesn't feel good, a lot of times you get bad habits. And for Mark, he's healthy again. And I think he's really going to help this ball club this year. And the power is the last thing to come. Anytime you have an injury, if you're a guy with some pop, nothing I would really know about, but some of the teammates I played with, it's the last thing to come. So the fact that he's got his power back.
21 homers for the 08 Cubs when he drove in 87. It's a breaking ball that comes inside, and DeRosa now having a good at bat, working it to 3-2 with a big power hitter on deck. Dwayne Below, 0-2 at the big league level in 14 games, 2 starts last year. DeRosa, it's a major league at bat right there, behind in the count, battles back, and the Nats have 3 base runners now here in the first inning.
I haven't had time yet. Let's set the Tigers' defense for tonight. Dirks, Jackson, and Thomas in the outfield. Peralta and Kelly on the left side. Rayburn and Strebe on the right side. Zero player doing the catching.
Jason Worth, 3 for 12 in 5 games with a home run this spring. Steven Strasburg, by the way, will pitch tomorrow for the Nationals over at the Disney Complex. LaRoche, Harper, and Bernardino will all be in that lineup tomorrow. Gorzolani and Ryan Matthews expected to get work behind Steven. And Worth looking the other way. You and I talked about this during BP as well. This is a quirky little ballpark because of the weather patterns here. But in the spring, the wind just really blows out to right field. And FP, it's a great place to work on your right field stroke. Stay on the ball. You'll be rewarded here. Not that you care that much about stats, but it's a good habit.
That's a good place to lock yourself in. Get ready to go north if you're a right-handed hitter. If you're a left-handed hitter, there's that temptation to hook everything.
Yeah, there's Worth going that way. What will the breeze do to this one? Not enough. Cleet Thomas will take it at the wall. Both teams making some noise in a long first inning. Tigers 2-1. The grill is working tonight. Only a couple of night games for the Nats at home, and we will be here for the next one, which will be the final Friday of spring training on the 30th. So Edwin Jackson, as the shadows grow long here, not really great hitting conditions at the moment, and that's okay.
And look at the starts career for Edwin Jackson. Look at all the teams he's played on. Mel Antonin asked me in the Master Report today what I thought of Edwin Jackson going to all those teams. I said, I really can't tell you. He's a great guy. The guys love him in the clubhouse. He throws 97 miles an hour. It's just the fact, if you have a good right arm like he does, have arm will travel. And I know everybody wearing the curly W is happy to have that guy here.
FP giving us preseason code for the Mid-Atlantic Sports Report. And a little pop-up. Now the wind's going to move this around. Desmond stays with it. Ankiel ranges out, and we talked about this a lot last year. Hard to find any double play combination in baseball with more range than Desmond and Espinosa. Ground balls, fly balls, humpback liners, you name it, they might grab it.
They're going to get to a lot of balls that most middle infielders don't get to.
That was Don Kelly, the third baseman. Here's Ryan Strebe, the first baseman, non-roster player. And trying to become something other than that, hitting .385 down here. From the great Northwest, big fella, 26 years of age. Nasty breaking ball, a beauty by Jackson. He started it outside corner, out of the zone by the time the bat came calling.
Yeah, late and hard. More down than across.
What do we see today? Throws his slider about 36% of the time. And he goes with a fastball, trying to jam the right-hander.
It's pretty much a strikeout pitch. Like I said earlier, he'll climb the ladder with a plus fastball with 2 strikes, but his go-to pitch when he needs a punch out is that slider you just saw right there.
I hope that's not a rally squirrel. Not with the Tigers batting. They don't need any help. What is this, wildlife night?
It's a wild kingdom here.
We got owls looking at us from up there. We got squirrels. Little breeze up there. That's a strong nest.
Tigers.
Tigers are in town. Wow. The Brevard Zoo, by the way, is only about 2 miles from here.
That's what it is.
And a breaking ball. Kind of handcuffed the hitter. Late reaction. Zimmerman makes that sidearm play as well as anybody in baseball. and a couple of quick outs. Opening weekend, April 12th at 1:05. Thursday, the Reds in town. First 20,000 fans receive an opening day cap presented by Geico, always one of our most popular items. Friday night, the Natitude T-shirt presented by 106.7 The Fan for the first 15,000. Steven Strasburg bobblehead on Saturday, 4:05 against the Reds. PNC Bank teams up for that. Nationals.com/tickets. And we haven't even mentioned that those are the two hardest throwing staffs in the National League based on last year, Cincinnati and Washington. Gerald Laird out courtesy of Ian Desmond. 2-1 game mid-second. Training record this year for Nationals Curly W caps, T-shirts, jerseys, you name it. I'm telling you, folks, it's unbelievable. If you haven't been down here, it is a total 180-degree change from what it was 4 or 5 years ago down here. We just see Nats fans everywhere. We used to see a couple here and there. Now it's awesome. And by the way, we've got the Yankee game here Thursday, 1 o'clock. Next Wednesday against the Braves, and then that Friday night game we talked about against the Fish before the Red Sox come to Nationals Park April 3rd. Make a note of it. That's a 3 o'clock game, so tell the boss you're not feeling well about 2:15.
How great is this spring baseball? I'll tell you what, partner, when I'm at home, there's nothing better than flipping on the tube right now and catching a spring training game.
Yeah.
What a great way to spend your evening.
By the way, 80 degrees at game time here tonight. We understand that's 5 degrees warmer than D.C. was today. So we hope you're enjoying all that great weather up there. Here's Wilson and Ramos. 4 games, 2 for 11 with a couple of RBIs. Good first pitch breaking ball by Dwayne Bilo. Look at that. Takes a while for the sun to set here in Florida. Let's talk about some of the desert states being flat. Florida, you can see from here to Tampa.
The earth is flat, right?
Whatever you want to believe, buddy. Hey! Off the glove of the diving Strebe, and Ramos has a base hit. That'll be his 3rd base hit of the spring. And the Nats have their leadoff man aboard for the 2nd time.
Well, that's what Wilson's been working on all spring training, staying short inside the ball and going the other way. You know, last year when Wilson Ramos was locked in, what did he do best? He hit the ball to right center field. And he'll take a mistake out to left center. Wilson red seats Ramos. How many times did he hit the red seats last year? But when Wilson's locked in, that's exactly what he does. Nice piece of hit.
Brett Carroll, interesting guy in this camp. A lively bat. Had some good times with Florida. And I've talked to some minor league guys who broadcast his games and some ex-teammates of his, and they just talk about what a prince of a guy he is. Knoxville, Tennessee. And doing a pretty good job, hitting 278 with an RBI, 5 out of 18. Guy has 18 at bats down here this stage of the spring. That means the ball club's taking a pretty good look at him.
I talked to Davey Johnson today. He likes pop off his bench late. he said last year he had a bunch of utility guys, middle infielders off the bench, and he likes a guy that can tie the game with one swing. You're down by 2 or 3 runs late in the game, run somebody up there with some pop.
Well, you got Chad Tracy still in camp. He's one of those kind of guys. Jason Michaels, who will be next. Nats made some cuts yesterday to get the roster down to 45. Anthony Rendon was one of those. Right now, the Nats, 8 guys non-roster remain, along with Carroll and Michaels and Tracy. Chad Durbin, Jeff Fulcino, Valdez Joaquin, and infielders Andres Blanco and Martin. Davey Johnson told me he loves the way this camp is going, and I'll tell you why in a moment. As Carroll, a really good take on a close 2-2 pitch to fill the count. Davey said the thing he loves about this camp, FP, is that there's enough veteran guys around here who've been there, done that, and they're making everybody else accountable. And he says, you know, all this rah-rah motivation stuff people talk about for managers, he said, I don't buy into that at all. It's the guys who have to provide that, not me. And he likes it. Straight up it goes to the right side. Now the wind's going to move this thing around. It comes back fair, requiring a backhanded play by Strebe.
But when you talk to the Nationals, they talk about the camp that Davey Johnson is running. Bob, this is the first time he gets to put his stamp on the team. Remember, he took over the team halfway through the season last year. So this is Davey Johnson's baby right now. This is his ball club. And the way he's running this camp, these guys love it. He's treating them like men. He's treating them like professionals. You come in, you get your work done, and you get out of here. And I think as a veteran player, that's great, because there were some camps that I went to where you felt like a lot of it was eyewash, that they were just doing things to do things to keep you at the ballpark, to make you work. Davey doesn't have to make these guys work. He has to do just the opposite sometimes, to where, you know, these guys are in the cage too much, or they're taking too many ground balls. You know, just get your work done and get out of here, and work smart, not too hard.
And here you have a 37-year-old guy battling to make a Major League Ball club, Michaels. Hitting .333 on the spring. And a chopper over toward the left side. Kelly cuts it off, and Michaels will beat it out to keep the inning alive. 5-4 on the fielder's choice. Davey made a really interesting comment, FP, that I thought was really interesting. He said that certain guys in the ball club, they want to be better than certain guys on the team. You know, he's pushing me to be better. But he said, we have guys on this team. Let's say you're playing third base. You're looking at the other team's third baseman and say, I want to be better than that guy today. I'm not sure I've heard that before in a baseball sense, where you want to make yourself better than the other guy at that same position on the other team.
Well, competition within the organization is one thing, but when you start talking about being better than the other guy, I think that's a good thing. I know as a leadoff hitter, I used to take pride in every night trying to get on base more than the other team's leadoff hitter, and I think there's a lot of that going on in camp right now. And that can only be a good thing.
Ian Desmond, opposite field double last time up, almost left the yard. Came around to score after an Espinoza base hit on a Zimmerman sac fly.
Now, the last couple of days, there's been a lot of talk about Ian Desmond in spring training. If you remember back to last year, there was a lot of talk about Drew Storin. I feel like a lot of unnecessary talk about the spring training that Drew Storin had. Everything was fine once the bell rang.
Yeah.
And I think the same could be said for Ian Desmond. This is a guy that's coming into his own as a player. He's working on things down here. He's not trying to make the ball club. You know, and what he's hitting and errors early in camp, not a big deal. And I think when you talk about his stance and what he's been working on the last couple of days, Davey Johnson and Rick Eckstein have him standing a little more upright. You look at the stance right there, nice and relaxed. See the hands loose. He's working on his rhythm at the plate.
That's a pretty quick swing. Now,
and I like what I saw, excuse me, partner, in batting practice. Very short, compact to the ball, and very relaxed. And, you know, hopefully we're going to talk to Rick Ankiel sometime tonight, and I think he's a perfect example about a guy who just kind of relaxed his shoulders, relaxed his hands. He's had some good results down here in spring training. And, you saw the first swing by Ian Desmond, but I was really impressed with what I saw him do in batting practice today. And he's only been in this new stance a couple of days. You look at it right there. He doesn't have the leg kick anymore. He's not trying to get inside the ball. Just nice and smooth and relaxed.
And a high chopper that'll back up the shortstop Peralta. Nats are gone in the second. They've had 3 base hits already. A 2-1 Tiger lead after 2. The top of the order for the Tigers. Edwin Jackson back out for his 3rd inning. Have not given up a earned run this spring. Rick Ankiel is with us, and one of the great things about spring training, we can mic up our guys and visit during the game. And Rick, of course, you're only about an hour from home, so you get to train right up I-95 from your place down in Florida. But tell us about your spring. How's the quad feeling, and how's the swing? You look pretty good in BP today.
Yeah, it's been a great spring, and Davey's really done a good job of letting guys come in here and get their work done and get out of here. Not too much standing around, so it's been really good. The quad is a little tight, so we want to play it easy and be safe, and take a couple days to make sure that's feeling good. But it's moving in the right direction, so I'm feeling pretty good.
Yeah, take it easy, play it safe, and hit about 4 balls over with that owl sitting on the light tower in BP.
That's always fun too.
Hey Rick, now you were here last year, and another spring training with the Nats. Is there a different sort of feeling around the ball club this year? What are you getting from this group?
Yeah, I mean, the pieces that we brought in, certainly on paper, were really good, and we're going to be able to compete in this East Division, which is going to be really good itself. So I think everybody's feeling good, and I think if we can go out there and play our games, we're going to be pretty good.
And I was just talking about Ian Desmond and how he's relaxed his stance up there. I watched your approach the other day. The game was on the Mets broadcast in St. Lucie. You look a lot more relaxed at the plate. Can you talk about the adjustments that you made this spring?
Yeah, that's one of the things I definitely wanted to work on last year. Just felt like I was a little tense up there, a little tight. But last year that was the way I was keeping my swing short. But this year coming in, I wanted to work on being free and easy and just giving myself a chance to cover more of the plate.
It's an amazing game, isn't it? You learn something every year as you go along. I mean, Rick, we're looking at your career. You're in your early 30s now. And the learning process never stops, does it?
No, never. I mean, this is a constant game of adjustments. So, you come in, you do what you need to do to adjust, and go out there and put your best A game out there.
All right, let's talk about this outfield thing, because center field's being talked about a lot. You and Roger and, all kind of rumors of deals and all this. But you guys are the guys that are here right now. So who's going to grab hold of that job, and how bad do you want to be out there?
Yeah, I think we're all going out there to win that winning spot. And, we certainly have some talent there and some depth, which is great for us moving forward and trying to, make this a winning season. So we'll see what happens. It's going to be fun.
And by the way, we probably never got a chance to congratulate you last year about having a sacrifice bunt and a home run in the same game.
Hey, thanks. I appreciate it.
We don't forget those sort of things. Atlanta Braves, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
All right. Hey, buddy, have a good spring. Thanks for your time. We appreciate it.
Hey, thanks, guys.
Rick Ankiel, reinventing himself after being one of the most prized young pitchers I've ever seen. And he has fashioned himself some longevity at the major league level.
He looks really comfortable at the plate, too. I mean, Sometimes as a hitter, when you get locked in this early in camp, you just wish you could head north, take that swing that you got going on right now. Yeah. You know, there was some spring trainings when I felt like I peaked too soon. You're locked in right now, you know, March 13th, and you want it to be April 5th.
Yeah, great example of that last year, Michael Morse. Unstoppable down here. Had a hard time buying a hit early, and then once he settled in, look out. One of the great seasons a National has ever had with the bat. Edwin Jackson dueling with Austin Jackson here after that strikeout of Eric Patterson. So he's in his 9th inning of work down here. Still no earned runs given up. Is that the cutter? That thing, four-seamer with some run on it or something. I mean, he almost got the outside corner with it.
Yeah, look where Wilson Ramos was setting up. Just misses off the outer half of the plate, but
he's pretty much a four-seam, two-seam guy, right?
Yes. That's a slider right there.
Now, give us a little spring tutorial here. The four-seamer and the two-seamer. Can you throw both well?
Not at the same time.
Exactly.
You have to throw.
That would be a three-seamer.
Now, the four-seam fastball is just the straight one. The two-seam fastball, you grip a little bit different with the seams. It'll run into a right-hander, away from a left-hander.
And sink.
And that's the sinker.
Yeah.
So when I say two-seam fastball, that's the true sinker. The four-seam fastball is straighter and generally a couple miles an hour harder.
And as you and I talked about this today, as we've talked to hitters over the years, two pitches will almost always be mentioned, the most devastating to deal with. Here's a 3-2 with one out. And he threw a breaking ball that Jackson did not miss out into left center, and the Tigers have their second base hit. But FP, guys will almost always bring up the off-speed stuff, the changeup, because it just isn't what it looks like it is. And then guys will talk about anybody with a hard sinker, really tough to hit against.
Yeah, I think the best pitch in baseball is a good two-seam fastball. If you have good movement on your fastball and you can place it and it has true sink to it where it actually doesn't run away from a lefty or run into a righty, that it runs in and down at the same time, that's a great pitch. And the changeup, I still have nightmares about that pitch.
It seems to me that years ago it was rare for a guy to throw a sinker 90 miles an hour. Now over the last 10 years, and then going back, starting with guys like Kevin Brown, who could throw at 92, 93, Ubaldo Jimenez, as these kids get bigger and stronger now, they throw that sinker as hard as guys used to throw four-seamers.
Yeah, it's hard velocity-wise, but when it's that fast, it's hard and heavy. Yeah. You know, it runs into you, runs away off the end of a left-handed bat into your hands if you're a right-hander, and the harder they throw it, the heavier it is.
No balls and one strike. Tough time of the day for some guys in the field. Now remember Coors Field, where it's right in the eyes of the first baseman this time of the day? Ryan Zimmerman, on every pitch and every throw back from DeRosa to the pitcher, has to put the glove up in front of his eyes. It is really a tough go of it over on that left corner. Sun coming in right from the right field corner behind first base. Counts 0-2 now to Andy Dirks, who struck out swinging first time up.
I put the gun in a little different spot today, and it's still a little bit slow. I know that Edwin Jackson's fastball sits around 92, 93. He can get up to 96, 97 with two strikes. Got him around 88 to 90 today. But folks, don't worry. When we head north, we'll definitely see the velocity that we've been talking about from these pitchers.
That ball is scorched. Espinoza unable to get there. Over to third, Jackson, who can fly. And the Tigers have a corner situation with one out.
Yeah, that's our first look at Edwin Jackson, and I'm pretty sure, let's see what this pitch was right here. Looks like a changeup, kind of down and away. Pretty good location. Dirks just went down and got it. And you see the speed of Austin Jackson going all the way to third on a hard hit ball up the middle.
Shadows are long, tough conditions for hitting and fielding to a certain extent. And here's Cleet Thomas, who hit that routine fly ball. First time up that Jason Michaels dropped with 2 outs in the first, and then it cost the Nats 2 runs on the Rayburn homer. So that was the two-seamer fading down and away from the left-handed batter.
Because he needs a ground ball.
Exactly. Best double play pitch in baseball, especially if you get a lefty who gets a little frisky and tries to pull it. Missing low and inside, 2-0. One and one in the postseason with St. Louis was Jackson last year. Target in. That ball was out over the plate. Brett Carroll can only play it on a hop, and the Tigers lead 3-1. You could tell by the Ramos target that that was not where the catcher wanted that pitch. Or Edwin Jackson as well, for that matter. 3 consecutive hits.
Let's check out the location of this pitch right here. Wilson Ramos setting up in. The slider that backed up on him. Out over the plate. Clee Thomas hit that ball off the end perfectly up the middle. We joked about it last time. Those are the ones you got to save for the season.
Here's Rayburn. Get that towering home run. Man, this guy 6 of 11, 4 homers, 13 RBIs this spring. There's that hard slider on the first delivery, low. That's got a good look at Rayburn a couple of years ago when they went to Detroit for interleague play. 31 years of age now. Kind of a late bloomer. Originally an 18th rounder by Tampa Bay way back in '99. Out of Durant High School, Dover, Florida. Jim Leland's ball club is loaded this year. Verlander and that pitching staff, Valverde in the bullpen. And all this offense. All they have to do really, pretty much is catch the ball, and they've got a chance to win every night.
It's going to be interesting to see how Miguel Cabrera transitions over to third base.
Yeah. With the Prince at first, and then a combination of those guys DHing on occasion. 2 balls, 1 strike. And a bouncer to Zimmerman. To the bag for 1. To first for 2. Corner to corner for Ryan Zimmerman, turning the 5-3. And the Tigers settle for a run. Good defense here. Good bats. Espinosa, Zimmerman, and Morse coming up. Be hard for him to go to work every day without his executive assistant, Herlin Cardozo, handles contracts, a lot of different things, and I can tell you from my own family experience, that's a job that is one of the most demanding. And the ladies in baseball who have those jobs, they are the glue that hold the front offices together.
It would be hard for us to go to work without heroin.
So all of our best to her family back in D.C. We thought you might enjoy seeing a glimpse of her with her boss. And we go to the bottom of the third for Espinoza, Zimmerman, and Morse, as Dwayne Below goes out there for a third inning of work. Danny Espinoza with a high chopping base hit up the middle first time. It set up the Nats for their first inning run.
I got to say, Beard, midseason form.
You have been like our red carpet guy here in spring training, checking out the fashions and the facial hair.
That's the funnest part. I mean, you haven't seen these guys in a while. You're home for 6 months. First time you get to see them, everybody looks a little bit different. Guys have gotten skinnier. Guys have put on some weight. Yeah. Big beards, little beards.
Look out, look out. I was bailing, and the man right in front of me put up the bare hand in a valiant effort, and he comes up with the ball.
Once again, spring training for the broadcasters. I had my head in the monitor, and I would have got smoked. Thanks, partner, for the heads up.
He wailed, and I bailed.
I was on the ground.
We're not used to this. This is like 8 stories lower than Nats Park.
It's like when I used to play second. Just get out of the way.
Danny Espinoza fouls one out of play. Good crowd tonight. They were expecting 5,000 or more for the Tigers over from Lakeland. Espinoza continues to battle here. Just some spring training numbers for you coming in. The Nationals hitting in the mid-260s. Outscoring their opponents by 10 runs total. Home runs are even 9 and 9. Just a few stolen bases here and there. 4 on the spring. And Espinoza unable to get to that one down in the dirt. Strikeout number 2 for Dwayne Below. I know we're in spring training every year when I see how clean cut Ryan Zimmerman is. And the walk-off grand slam against the Phillies. August 20th.
There's not a whole lot to add to that. Just look at it.
It's like, hey, what's the big deal here?
And probably my favorite thing that happened all last year. And there was some great moments. I mean, that's all of baseball and walk-off wins.
Yeah. I think somebody ought to put a concession stand out in left field called the walk-off something. Ryan sac fly to right center first time. His forte is going that way, and this one will drop between Jackson and Thomas, and Ryan Zimmerman's got that right center field stroke going, and I love the Spike's first slide, by the way. That is his 4th double of the spring out of his 8 base hits, and 2 of the others are home runs.
Sac fly first time up, double in the gap, second time up. Watch his swing. That's where 300 hitters live. Right center field, big leg kick. We've seen it for years now. And the one thing I like about Ryan Zimmerman is he hits the ball where it's pitched. I mean, he could pull the ball out of the ballpark. You throw it down away, he'll take you out that way. He got power to all fields. Not afraid to hit the ball in the gap. Singles hitter, doubles hitter, and when he needs a home run, he's got that in his tank too. I'll tell you what, one of the great joys for me coming over here last year was watching that guy play every day. Yeah. You know, when you're not a part of this franchise or organization, you're not a Nats fan, you don't get to see Ryan Zimmerman play every day. You don't appreciate how good he is.
Well, and all the people, a lot of the so-called experts, or pundits as they call them, questioning the wisdom of the Nats and the contract extension a couple of weeks ago, those guys don't see him every day like we do. They don't appreciate what Ryan Zimmerman does for this ball club, the organization, and the city. And they look at numbers.
Is it safe to say he's underrated? I mean, it's hard to be underrated when you have the contract he has and you're as good as he is. But, you know, I live on the West Coast in the offseason, and I try to tell people how good this team is, number one, or how good they're going to be this year, number one. And I talk about that guy right there. I think he's one of the best third basemen in baseball.
Well, he has a gold glove to prove it. And would have had another 1 or 2 with some better health.
But just all around, Carp, like
Yeah.
a baseball player. You know, I say that a lot. Fans probably go, well, duh, he's a baseball player. But when you say somebody's a baseball player,
Yeah.
all-around ball player.
It's like calling a basketball player a gym rat. It's a big compliment.
It is. You know, he's one of the first guys at the ballpark. I see him in the cage working on his hitting. I see him in the cage working on his throwing. You know, the guy has a tremendous work ethic. He leads by example. And I am so happy that the Nats locked him up for that long.
High bouncer looking into the sun. Don Kelly with a good play. 2 outs. 2 outs here in the third with Zimmerman still at second base. Just now 7 o'clock here on the Space Coast of Florida. Vieira, Bob and FP with you here on Mass and HD with Chip Winfield, our producer. Assembling another outstanding crew for you this year to bring you Nationals baseball. Vieira, by the way, if you haven't been down here, is about a 40 to 45 minute drive straight east of the Orlando airport. We're south of Cape Canaveral and north of Melbourne, Florida, right on I-95. Come down and join us. You'll see a growing area. I mean, everywhere we look now beyond the outfield fence, we see buildings now. Used to be cows and pasture out there. Vibrant, growing area with a lot going on.
There's a cloud right there. You ready to do your first weather report?
Bob's Bootleg Weather is shut down till April. We're still assembling. We're still negotiating for satellite time and full-time staff.
I mean, make it up. You did all last year. Just look at the cloud. Look at the clouds out there. Right there.
We're like
what do you think?
We're like Dragnet. Just the facts.
What do you think?
I'd say we're in for a lovely evening.
Right.
That dome on top of that thing concerns me a little. What is that?
You're supposed to know.
Is that the top of the Marlins' new ballpark down there? Fastball is upstairs, 2-1. Saw where Ozzie Guillen got tossed out of a spring training game yesterday. Bobby Valentine waved him goodbye.
That's odd.
Bobby V's trying to get a rivalry going with everybody right now.
Very rare do you see a manager get tossed from a spring training game. And, I mean, Ozzie went around and aired out every single umpire. Usually, you know, in a bad call in spring, manager will just kind of give him the wave off, like, it's spring train, you missed it, so what? We're all working on stuff. But, you know, we weren't there. We don't know what happened, but something set him off for sure.
Yeah, there might be a history between him and a certain ump. 2 balls and 2 strikes. I think the Marlins will be one of the most interesting stories to watch in baseball this year. How good can they be? How might things go down there if they don't get off to a good start? And then, of course, the Braves are the Braves, the Phillies are the Phillies, and the Nats are trying to make their way with all these veteran ball clubs who are so used to winning. We want a taste of that. And DeRosa having a good at-bat. Don't forget, first time up, he was behind in a count, coaxed, as they say, a walk. And now on 2-2, spraying some foul balls around and keeping this AB alive. Zimmerman doubled with 1 out. Morris bounced out on a good play by Don Kelly. Tigers lead 3-1. The hits are even at 4. Bilo's been trying to throw that breaking ball down and into right-handers. You got Espinoza on one.
Another full count for Mark DeRosa. You remember Bobby Abreu went to the Angels? All the Angels hitters talked about what kind of influence he had on them. The year before, he led the National League with the Phillies in pitches seen per at-bat. And you look at Mark DeRosa today, and you see him taking all these pitches, fouling off balls with 2 strikes, and you wonder if he might have the same influence that Bobby Abreu had on the Angels when he went over there on the rest of the Nationals hitters. You get a veteran guy, he comes into camp, he sees a lot of pitches, he makes adjustments with 2 strikes, foul balls off, battle, make the other pitcher work. Right now, with whatever happens, I mean, obviously you'd want to get a base hit and an RBI. This is a good at-bat, just like his first one. 2 strikes, fouling off balls, and you wonder if maybe some other guys in the dugout, in the Nationals dugout, are looking at his approach saying, hey, I like that. Spreading out with 2 strikes, fouling balls off, going deep into counts. It's good stuff.
3-2 with 2 outs. Well, how about that take? 2-1 as DeRosa walks for the second time. The only 2 passes given by Dwayne Bilo, who will now have to deal with Jason Worth.
It's another great at-bat from Mark DeRosa. You know, last time we were here, the last game we did, he got a couple of knocks. And I said, well, that might be a bigger deal than you would think. You get a veteran guy over here. Everybody knows he can play the game the right way. Everybody knows that he's a good utility player. But when you start walking the talk and you go out there and perform, that's when you get credibility in the clubhouse. It really doesn't matter what you've done before this, or it does in a sense, but when the guys here see you do it, you know, now a leader becomes a leader with his new ball club, where he was that with his old ball club, because he's getting the job done on the field.
Pitching coach Jeff Jones with a visit, and a big spot for Worth, who in a situation just like this in the first inning hit a ball hard into that breeze, caught right at the right field wall. Fastball high.
Davey Johnson talking about Jason Worth today, said his approach this year in spring training is light years ahead of where he was last year at this time.
That's good news. 74 walks, 160 Ks last year. He was among the league leader in walks most of the season. Bottom of the third. 6 o'clock start here. Shadows now engulfing the infield. And Worth will take a 2-0 fastball.
You put Mark DeRosa and Jason Worth back-to-back in the lineup on a given day, you're going to make a pitcher work. We talked about it a lot last year. Jason Worth sees a lot of pitches, and that was more effective in Philadelphia. We had a bunch of guys around him that saw a lot of pitches. But when you're the only guy in the lineup that likes to work a count and go deep, sometimes it's not quite as effective. When you have a whole team doing it, that's how you wear a pitcher down. But you know, with the Nationals last year, we saw a lot of feast or famine guys that went up there looking for a first pitch fastball, a lot of pop, driving the ball, but not a lot of guys that worked the count. So for Jason last year, I think, you know, he was on an island. He was the only guy that went up there and worked the count. And now you got a guy like DeRosa, and you put them back to back. There's other guys that work the count. I don't want to make it sound like Jason was the only one, but you put those guys back to back, now you got a pitcher working hard. 3-2
pitch with the runners going, and that'll reach the seats. The Nationals were 7th in the league with 154 home runs last year. They were 13th in runs, 14th in batting average, but their 1,323 strikeouts were the most in the National League. And only the Giants drew fewer walks. Now that was offset some by the pitching staff that was 5th in the league in giving up the fewest walks, so that helped. With the runners going, Worth will take one, and the bases are loaded. Serious batting eyes by Mark DeRosa and Jason Worth setting up Wilson Ramos here.
All of a sudden, we're watching the Oakland A's. Mark DeRosa with the 6-pitch at-bat, Jason Worth with a 6-pitch walk.
That's going to be it.
That'll do it for Belo.
That'll be his 3rd walk. He struck out 2 in 2 2/3 innings. The Nats have had only 4 hits against him, and he will yield, and we'll be back with the Nats having a chance to equalize. Are available for the Nationals in 2012. Ignite your natitude. A lot of the tickets start at $10. Go to nationals.com/tickets and check it out. The boys will be home for 4 against the Cincinnati Reds to start it all off after we spend a week going to Chicago and New York. This is Adam Wilk, 24-year-old lefty from Anaheim who pitched in 5 games for the Tigers last year.
4-seam fastball, 2-seam fastball, 89 to 90. He's got a slider, curve, and a change to go with it. Fastball, slider, curve to lefties. Fastball, slider, change to righties.
Thank you for doing your homework on that, sir. And we are in the bottom of the 3rd with Wilson Ramos coming in. So another lefty from Jim Leland here against the right-hander Ramos. Wilson, first time up, got that base hit, a well-hit ball off the glove of the first baseman. So he's 3 for 12 in the spring. Couple of RBIs, tying runs at second base, and Mark DeRosa. Well, Wilson thought he might get a first pitch fastball, just couldn't get out there to grab it. One of the top 4 young catchers in baseball last year in terms of home runs and at bats per home run. Something in the 15 home runs and something in the 20 to 25 range of at bats per home run. So lots of production from this young man who has such a bright future. Had a 2-home run game April 26th against the Mets. A couple of solos against Chris Young that got his power game going. He was hitting .372 at the time. Ended up the season at a very respectable .267. Reaching. It's a swinging bunt. Ramos trying to rake it out, and they got him at first. So the Nats leave the bases loaded and trail 3-1 after 3. After an error, Ryan Rayburn a homer in the first. Ian Desmond swinging the bat pretty well tonight. And then Edwin Jackson about to work his 4th inning. And FP, your thoughts on him so far?
I like what I've seen. Our first look at Edwin Jackson with the curly W on, and the sinker was good, the slider was good. He made that one mistake to Ryan Rayburn, a fastball that was supposed to be middle in, and he left it out over the plate. But other than that, a lot of ground balls. This double play that Ryan Zimmerman turned, looking right into the sun, just guessing where Mark DeRosa was over there at first base. But working on things, spring training, I think all in all very good so far for Edwin Jackson.
Johnny Peralta leads off for the Tigers. Bounce to Zimmerman his first time up. Hits are even at 4. Tigers lead 3-1. Nats will be at Disney tomorrow behind Steven Strasburg to take on Atlanta. We'll be back with you at 1 o'clock on Thursday with the Yankees here.
In their Smurfs outfits? Are they going to Disneyland?
Well, it's Disney World over there.
That's right.
That's quite a complex the Braves enjoy over there. There are not many teams on the east coast of Florida anymore. Just 4. Nats are about 70 miles north of the Mets and about 100 miles north of the Cardinals and the Marlins, who share a complex in Jupiter. When the Dodgers left Vero Beach several years ago, it really created a big hole here in this part of Florida. And the Orioles were down in Lauderdale for quite a while. Miami before that. Yankees used to be on the East Coast. And of course, the Braves were in West Palm and the Expos in that area for many years.
When you have spring training in Arizona, you take batting practice at your own field. You get on a van. You drive 15 minutes to the other field. When you come out of the game, you get on those same vans in the 5th inning. You're usually home by the time the game ends if you're a starter. And when you talk to guys that have had spring training in Arizona versus Florida, yeah, it's a big league, so you really don't want to whine about it. But in Arizona, it's much more conducive to getting your work done.
Yeah, the guys will tell you the weather's different too. It's much more volatile here. Arizona, weather's just about the same, hot, dry, every day.
You don't have to sit on a bus for 2 or 3 hours to play a game.
But I noticed something, and I was in Arizona early last March. And one Sunday morning, checking the attendance figures for some of the minor league complexes out there. There are so many teams in such a small area. Other than the Cubs and the Giants and the Dodgers, there are a lot of ball clubs who just don't draw very many fans out there for their games. Everybody kind of fell in love with Arizona, and teams just couldn't wait to flock out there. But so many teams in a small area.
And good crowd here tonight for sure.
Yeah, and we'll have a big one here on Thursday. Never sure which Bronx Bombers will show up. It's quite a lengthy trip over here from Tampa. And Jackson goes to 2-0 now on Don Kelly after walking Johnny Peralta.
I think getting back to the different spring training states, I mean, when you talk about the Grapefruit League, a lot of times with the long bus trips, you don't get a chance to see the bigger players play because, you know, the veteran guys don't go on trips.
Yeah.
But if you're in Arizona and it's a 15-minute trip, you're more likely to see the superstar guys on the road. I think Major League Baseball has a rule that has 4 or 5 regulars have to be in the lineup in every single game. But you know, generally speaking, the guys with the most time, the bigger players, they never really put their gray uniform on until the season starts.
I know the commissioner's been concerned about Florida. He really doesn't want any other teams to go to Arizona now. But there used to be a day when you could drive half hour, 45 minutes about anywhere in Central Florida and run into a Major League spring training city. 3 balls and a strike. Runner holding, and Edwin Jackson now has walked 2 in a row after not walking anybody in the first 3 innings.
Hey, we're checking out Wilson Ramos. He tried to beat that ball out. And I always cringe in spring training when a guy tries to get an infield single, but you only know how to play the game one way, and for Wilson Ramos, that's hard. But you watch him come through the base. Watch after he touches first base. Right there, you see a little hiccup in his step. And I watched him go back behind the plate, stretching out his right leg, so you just hope he didn't strain something trying to beat that throw out. But it's so hard to tell a guy that's used to playing one way to play different just because it's spring training. So we'll keep an eye on Wilson Ramos.
First baseman Ryan Strebe coming up.
This will be pitch number 70 right here. Edwin Jackson.
Well, he was headed for about an 8 or 9 pitch first inning before the error, then the homer. Got a 1-2-3 second. Gave up 3 hits in the third, but only 1 run as a double play ball got him out of that. Now he's walked the first 2 here in the fourth. Ross Detweiler expected to work, as well as Atahualpa Severino from the left side tonight. And we could see Tyler Clippard, Brad Lidge, and Ryan Perry. They were all on the list for this one. Bouncer up the middle. Desmond will get there. Stumbles.
Yes,
he finds the bag. He had designs on a 6-3 double play. Nats do get the force at second.
A little tricky hop there at the end for Ian Desmond. He was thinking, boy, this is a tailor-made double play. 2 outs, runner on third. Watch this little hop at the end. Just stays down. You see that? Hop, 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 and then the ball stayed close to the ground. Nice play. I've seen those balls go underneath glove. Watch the big hops into a little hop there at the end. Nice job staying with that, stretching out with his foot. It's a pretty good play.
Double play still in order now with a catcher batting, and that's Gerald Laird, who bounced out to Desmond first time.
Little things sometimes you don't notice when you're at the ballpark. As a shortstop, you see this ball coming to you. It's a big hop, a big hop, a big hop. So you're expecting that fourth hop to be another big hop with some air underneath it. And that ball either hit something or had some topspin, stayed low to the ground. It was a really nice play that might have gone unnoticed right there for Ian Desmond.
Hitter and pitcher who know each other well, Laird and Jackson, teammates in St. Louis last year. Laird hit .232 there, backing up Yadier Molina. And trying to get that ground ball, keeping it down. 1 ball, 1 strike.
I don't know how Jim Leland's going to run that Tigers offense. You think he's just going to sit back, relax in the dugout?
He can be Earl Weaver whenever he wants to.
What's the over-under on signs that Jim Leland's going to put on offensively this year for the Tigers? 10?
They started the runner off first to stay out of the double play.
As we speak, there's a hit and run, so 9 more for Jim Leland this year.
And, of course, this may be the only time all year you'll ever see the Tigers DH batting 9th. In this case, young Eric Patterson. As potent a ball club as there will be in baseball this year. That's a pitcher's park in downtown Detroit, but it doesn't stop these guys.
Yeah, I don't think there's such a thing as a pitcher's park to Miguel Cabrera and Prince Fielder.
Yeah. Pat Corrales did mention Yellowstone today. Conversation we had. 2 balls and 2 strikes. By the way, Pat Corrales made a visit over to the minor league complex today. Spent a lot of time over there, and he told me that he is seeing great quality, but also quantity to go with it. And he thinks when the Nationals go through one more really good draft, that this organization will be as well stocked as any in baseball. That'll make it 4-1 on a little dunker into right center. Gerald Laird's second RBI of the spring, and the walks come back to hurt. So you can see where the Nats have given up 3 runs tonight on an error and a couple of walks, and that'll be it for Jackson. He will pitch 1 out into the 4th inning. But when Pat Corrales mentions something, you listen. And he's a man who says a lot in a very few words. He just said, I really like what I see over there. And he said, one more good draft cycle, and this organization will really be something.
Wait, you're looking at a guy that was with the Braves organization for a long, long time.
Yeah.
And if anybody knows about a good minor league system and what it takes when you had guys like Chipper Jones coming through the system, and all the guys that franchise have developed, and when you think of a great minor league system, the first name that comes to mind is the Atlanta Braves and how they've done it for however many years.
Yeah. And by the way, I don't want to make Pat seem like Methuselah or something here, but this is his 53rd spring training. I had to figure that out for him because he didn't know. And he said, I don't really want to know how many spring trainings I've been in uniform for, but he goes back to 1960.
Methuselah a right-hander or left-hander?
He was pretty good from both sides and had great longevity, evidently. So Pat Corrales, here's the thing about him and Davey Johnson. A couple of years ago, last spring training, Pat Corrales and Davey Johnson are riding around in golf carts, helping out Jim Riggleman's at that time staff and Mike Rizzo, evaluate things around here. And that's how funny this game of baseball is. 1 year later, Pat's in uniform sitting by the dugout, and Davy Johnson, as you mentioned earlier, has his own spring training going. And, you know, the more things change, you just adapt to things going on in this game of baseball, and that's how you stick around like Pat Corrales has. Ross Detweiler gets the call now.
Good to see our first look at Ross Detweiler this season. You see his numbers from last year. Fastball, slider change from Detweiler. And we were impressed with him last year. I love the fact that he goes right after guys, fastball in the mid-90s. And if he does win that 5 spot in the rotation, we've been talking about how the first 4 guys throw the ball hard. If you had this guy as the 5th guy, 95, 96, 97 from the left side, that is officially the most powerful staff in the big leagues.
2 hits in 5 innings down here for Ross. 6 strikeouts and 1 walk. I like that ratio. I think he started our first game down here, our first telecast last year. He's facing a lefty-lefty matchup here with the DH, Eric Patterson. So we're getting to that twilight time here now at 7:28 local. The lights just starting now to take effect. Minor league ballpark here, Class A ball. They're in the summer. So night games are a little bit different in spring training.
A Florida State league. Great league.
The Manatees play here.
I played in the Florida State League in 1990 for the West Palm Beach Expos, and I'll tell you what, probably the best stop I had. When you talk about as a kid, you're an A-ball and you're playing in big league spring training ballparks. It's a good deal. I'm surprised they don't have an A-ball league in Arizona somewhere with all the ballparks they have there. I know they have the Fall League in Arizona. I'm not aware of any A-ball leagues they have there. All those ballparks just sit there after spring training all year long.
Yeah. That's a busted bat. Second baseman and runner dueling with each other there as Gerald Laird went flashing by. So Patterson retired by Danny Espinosa, 2 outs. Ross Detweiler may be slated for a long relief role. He was quoted the other day saying, with this rotation, I may not get enough work. But good arms to have and a good situation to have. Who's going to take the 5th of these 3 quality major league pitchers?
Yeah, a long relief role with the Nationals might be like being a punter on a football team that has a tremendous offense. You never see the field, but you know, we like all 3 of those guys. I think that just tells you and speaks to the strength of this staff when those 3 guys are fighting for the 5th spot. And Bob, you were telling me there was years when you came down here and there was only 2 spots secure, and 3, 4, and 5 were up for grabs every year. Now, you got 4 set. It's a pretty good staff when you have those 3 guys fighting for the last spot.
Well, we can chuckle about it now, but you know, sometimes we'd have 11, 12, 13 guys in camp trying to be starters. 2 balls and no strikes to Austin Jackson, who has flied to right and singled out to left center. Tigers with a couple aboard here in the 4th and already leading 4-1. Kind of a slow, methodical ball game here. Good giddy up there. And we have noticed that the gun, we don't think here is as fast, at least showing as fast as the pitchers are actually throwing. Drew Storin was telling us last night they had to move the gun from where it was earlier in spring training. It was off to the side, and pitchers were like, man, I'm throwing the heck out of the ball. What's that all about?
Yeah, last game we did, the gun was in a police car in the parking lot.
That gun is way off center behind home plate. So really nowhere near being right behind the catcher. 3 balls, 1 strike. And the 3rd walk of the inning. First by Detweiler, and the bases are loaded. .731 here in Vieira, Florida. Space Coast Stadium seats 7,200. Biggest thing the Nats had to do here in recent years was to get some nice red, white, and blue paint and cover up all that teal. Marlins used to train here before they went down to Jupiter to join St. Louis at that complex.
Yeah, this used to be the ballpark that when you played whoever was here when I was in spring training, the first thing you did was walk into the clubhouse and just hope that you weren't on the travel list.
Detweiler as the home plate umpire. Greg Gibson says no, no, no. 1 ball, 1 strike to Andy Dirks. Former #1 draft pick Ross Detweiler. Ten starts for the Nats last year, a 3 ERA with a 4-5 record. Busted bat. Ball's going to hit and spin. And it's 2 balls, 2 strikes. So Ross Detweiler started 10 games last year and had decisions in 9 of them. And he threw 66 innings. So he pitched on the average 6 2/3 every time out.
It's just a challenge fastball, Bob, in a big situation. Bases loaded, 2 outs, a 2-1 count. And Ross Detweiler going right after Dirks. A fastball in on his hands, and the wind is really gusting in right now from left field.
Right down the middle. Detweiler with a beauty of a fastball. Nats are out of the inning, bending but not breaking, only giving up 1 run. Tigers after 3.5, leading by 3. I got an email from a fan that says, what self-respecting owl lets a squirrel run across the field? The guy says the Phillies are the owl, we're the squirrels, the Nats. And we're going to surprise some people this year, and Drew Storin will be right in the middle of that. Hey, Drew, good to have you with us, buddy, on headset downstairs. Now, you know as well as anybody that what happens in spring training doesn't necessarily reflect what happens during the season, because everybody at this time last year was saying, what's up with Drew Storin?
Yeah, it was a very interesting spring training for me last year. I definitely learned a lot, and yeah, spring training doesn't always carry over to the regular season. Unfortunately, they don't throw those stats on the back of your baseball card.
Nice.
Now, have you changed your approach at all down here this year based on what happened last year? Maybe a little bit older, a little bit wiser?
Yeah, you know, I've kind of slowed things down this year, and I'm in a different position, so that it allows me to do that. But yeah, I'm slowing it down and just kind of working on my fastball command a lot, and you know, like I said, not putting too much weight into what happens.
Hey, Drew, I want to throw one name at you, and just give me your reaction when I say the 2 words, Brad Lidge.
Mentor right there. That's an easy teacher for me, and I've already kind of worn him out this spring training, and I think he's only going to help me out tremendously throughout this season.
Well, what'd you ask him?
Anything and everything. I wish I had a notebook, to write down some of the stuff he said, but you can ask for a better teammate and somebody to mentor me, and just kind of help the bullpen out. Obviously as a pitcher, but like I said, as a teacher.
Now, has the workload that you had last year affected you at all this spring? I know you worked real hard, all the saves last year. You seem like you were out there every day. Any ramifications from that to this year?
No, I took plenty of rest here this off season and really got myself in shape. So I don't feel any carryover effects. So that's good.
Now, the other day when we were here, Clippard got to speak to us while you were pitching. Why don't you tell us something about what this guy meant to you last year and meant to this ball club?
Well, obviously I'm not getting the saves if that's well hit.
Call it.
It's not out though.
Oh.
That was well struck. No, obviously I'm not getting the opportunities without him, and he was, did an incredible job, and I think our styles of pitching really play off each other really well. He's got the invisible fastball and that great changeup. So he throws from a lot different arm slot than I did. So it's a great tandem we got, and obviously adding Lidge and still having Bernie down there, it's good into the bullpen.
What a lot of people don't realize is that FP stands for Fashion Police, and I've been watching you guys and grading the beards out here on the air today.
He's our red carpet guy, by the way.
I like what you're doing with the hair right there. I like the beard. I mean, you look like a closer. Last year you had the short hair, clean shaven. This year you're kind of looking the part.
I'm trying to. You got to have a little bit of scruff, and especially for me, I kind of got the baby face, so I need to get a little something to cover that up. And I've said it all along, I'm just trying to not look like the bad boy.
Hey, Drew, you're going to be back with us on Masson this year, doing a few things for us. Tell the folks about it, and what you're going to be sharing with them during the season.
Yeah, I had a good opportunity last year to kind of interact with the fans, a lot of appearances, and special lunches with contest winners, and had a blog and had some videos. So I would say look for some more videos and appearances this year. Clip and I had fun doing our cribs, so we're living in a new place this year, so definitely look out for a new cribs video.
Oh, goodness. Well, every year, as you know, we come down and we talk to the ball club, the Masson guys stand in front of you, and Bob does his spiel, I do my spiel. You were in there today. What'd you think of what Bob and I had to say to the ball club before the game?
Well, I probably could have told you Bob's speech before he did it.
How does that go?
But
I understand you do a wonderful Bob Carpenter. I'm teeing you up right now. How does Bob's speech go today?
Well, I tell you what, FP. Listen, fellas. If you guys heard me before this speech, I come down every year. I talk about it. I remember look back at 1997. I was actually with the Cardinals at the time, and Ozzie Smith was up in the booth with me. Of course, Hall of Famer Ozzie Smith. And I tell you what, after the game, he sat down. We put the headsets down. And he said, "Hey, partner, the game sure looks a lot easier from up here." So remember that. I tell you,
Hey, and you've only heard that story twice. Zimmerman's heard it like 6 times.
No, I tell you what, Bob, I've retold it a couple times. So everybody was already prepped for your speech today.
That's funny.
Oh, that was great.
I appreciate you being a good sport about it, Bob.
Well, I wish somebody would go deep right now. I'd like to hear your home run call.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Know-It-All.
Say it right here.
There it is. Yeah, you got to.
They work on that play every day in spring training, Drew.
That's what spring training is for, right, Bob? That's why you're here at 8 in the morning and you're doing those on the half field.
Nobody knows this, but when you guys are out on the outer fields, I'm in the bushes out there calling plays just
all
like
right. It's spring training for you too, so that's all right.
Well, Drew, this is, a lot of guys, getting back to the baseball part, a lot of fans are kind of comparing Ian Desmond's spring to your spring last year. Talk about the guy in the batter's box right now. Nobody in the clubhouse is worried about Ian Desmond.
No, he's extremely talented, and especially with hitters, it's going to take time for those guys to lock in. And, you always see the pitchers are ahead of the hitters. And but Desi's having a rough spring, but everybody trusts him. Everybody knows that he's gonna be there, and his swing looks good. And like I said, we know he'll be there for us.
Desmond tonight, a opposite field double, bounced out to short, 1 for 2, 4 for 22 on the spring with an RBI. Has scored the Nats only run tonight. And a fastball, a little bit up, 1 ball, 1 strike. Hey, Drew, we're going to ask you to stick around with us for another half inning. Is that okay?
That's fine with
me.
me.
We have never asked a player to do that before.
Well, I appreciate that. I guess I'm starting new things.
You've got some broadcasting in your blood, though.
I do, and maybe one day I can fill the shoes of FP. Maybe.
Oh, please.
Well, I'm thinking you can replace me and then work with this guy for the rest of your career.
Drew, you could do it right now. Just keep pitching, baby.
Yeah,
do it for a long time.
I'm going to try to stay on the field for as long as I can.
Yes, please. Do it.
1 ball and 2 strikes to Desmond.
Well, we've never had a guy do an impression before, so that's, it's like Johnny Carson calling somebody over to the couch.
I'm going to do that talk every year now.
I tell you what,
why break my streak now, huh?
It was a step up for me. I don't really do the impressions in front of people before.
But I got to tell you, when Ozzie Smith, who made the game look as easy as anybody ever did, when he told me the game sure looks easy from up here in the booth, that told me something, that what you guys do, and fans, broadcasters, writers, we all need to realize this. It is not easy down there.
That is very true. I think it's a good story. I just, I always like the fact that it's retold.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went into it.
Carpenter, Santangelo, and Storin. A 3-man booth returns in a moment. .43 saves last year. That was a nice closing series for the Nats in Florida, and that being culminated in some good starting pitching and some great work by number 22.
He was fantastic all season long. We knew right away. He throws that first pitch strike with the fastball away, comes with the killer slider, as you call it, Bob. He was great all year. And he's nice enough to stay with us another inning.
Hey, Drew, you guys ended the season on a good note. What, 15-5 the last 20? Got into that winning habit. Some people say September can be fool's gold, but I don't think that's the case with this ball club. Do you?
No, not at all. We obviously played well against the Phillies, and we were all very excited about what happened. And we ended the season on a good note and kind of created some excitement for this year, which obviously you've seen we've kind of built on that so far.
That's Cleet Thomas, the number 3 hitter, with a bunt base hit.
And you talk about the camp that Davey Johnson is running. We've talked about it a little bit up here. But, a lot different from last year maybe, and he's putting his stamp on this ball club. Last year took over the ball club halfway through the season. Now, he's got full reins from spring training. Talk about your opinion of Davey Johnson and what you've done here in camp.
It's a really professional and efficient camp, which isn't always the case with spring training. And, we get in and we get our work done, and it's, it's hard work, obviously, but we're not sitting around wasting time. And I think that's one thing the guys really appreciate. So the amount of time that we're spending, it's good stuff instead of, it's quality of work, not necessarily the quantity.
Ryan Rayburn, the hitter, 2-run homer, first inning, double play ball in the 3rd. Tigers have out-hit the Nationals 6-4. Drew Storin has been spending some time with us. And I want to reflect something that we talked about a couple of innings ago that Davey Johnson told me today, Drew, and that's the fact that this club has a good mix of veterans and young guys. And the veterans are kind of policing the ball club, and guys are being accountable without the manager or the coaching staff having to do much of that.
Yeah, I think that's something that you see on successful ball clubs, and we have the veteran guys that have come over from winning teams, so they know what it takes to get there and play, in October and win that World Series. So to have those guys around mixed with the young talent, it really puts us, on paper in a really good spot.
Now, have you been working on the changeup at all down here? Any other pitches to go with the fastball slider?
Yeah, I've messed around with the changeup a little bit, but I'm going to stick with the the sinker and four seam and the slider. But the changeup will be there in the bag in case I need it.
Hey, 3 pitches enough for any reliever, right? You don't want to get too distracted by making your repertoire too big, do you?
No, you don't, and especially in the 9th inning, you don't ever want to be cute. The second you try to be cute and you give up a bomb to tie it, it's when you don't sleep at night.
1 ball and 2 strikes. Detweiler to Rayburn here, 5th inning.
Hey, what do you need?
That's a wild pitch. It'll get all the way back to the screen. Ramos can't find it, and Cleet Thomas ends up at third base. Hey, Drew, when are you scheduled to pitch next?
I'm not sure. I think I'll probably be throwing this weekend at the home game on Saturday, probably.
Okay.
How much work do you need before opening day?
I don't know. It's stuff I'm still learning. I feel like I got probably 12 innings in last year, and I don't know. I feel good. My command's there, and I've been happy so far. So I don't think I need too much. It's just a matter of getting those back-to-back days and the 2 innings in.
Bouncing ball up the middle, a base hit. That's Ryan Rayburn with his 3rd RBI of the night, and the Tigers now lead the Nats 5-1 with Johnny Peralta coming up. Drew, the season gets off to an interesting start because all this time in Florida, the weather's been good. This is probably as nice as any spring we've ever felt down here, but then it's on to Chicago and then on to New York, and things can change in that respect dramatically, but oftentimes the hitters don't like that a lot more than the pitchers don't like it.
Yeah, you're definitely pitching inside when you're in that cold weather, but it's tough for everybody. And the weather in Chicago and New York at that time of year is not going to be forgiving.
And teeing off there is Johnny Peralta. This is a good hitting Detroit team. Fortunately, the Nats don't see the American League Central this year, but they do see the American League East. So pick your poison there.
And Drew, maybe you could talk about what Ross Detweiler is going through right now. Not this moment in this game, but you went from a guy that had to prove yourself in spring training, fighting for a position, to now a veteran guy that's an established closer. Maybe talk about the difference between Ross, who's trying to get the 5th spot right now, and you being a veteran now.
Yeah, it's different, and it's tough because at the same time you want to work on stuff, and you're not going to be sharp. The only way that you really get to the top of your game is you face real hitters in a real game. So it's tough for him because he's trying to work on things, and but at the same time he's trying to make the team. So but he's doing a good job. He's having a good spring, and I think his stuff looks really good.
Is there a point as a pitcher when you say, forget working on things, I need to get some outs, and you just kind of throw it out the window because the things you're working on aren't working?
Yeah, I mean, even this spring I've done that. You get out there that first batter, and you fall behind, you get a 3-ball count, and all of a sudden you might forget the work that you need to get in. So that's one thing I've been telling myself is to look at the big picture and don't necessarily force it too much.
It's hard to trust it. I know as a hitter in spring training, I would hit in the cage for a while, get on the tee for a while, have a new approach for that day, and the first ball that I fouled off later swung through, I'd go right back to my old stance. So
yeah, it's like being in the boxing ring. You're out there and you're thinking it's great, but then once you get punched, you're going to get after it a little bit.
Good looking bunt. Zimmerman's going to play it to second base. Look at that. How do you throw it sidearm on the run to that angle? And Drew, you've been out there in late game situations when this guy's made some plays behind you. How good is Ryan Zimmerman?
It's unbelievable. There's been a lot of times that the guy hits it and you're already in your head, you assume it's a base hit, and then all of a sudden you look and he's making a diving play and he gets up and throws the guy out. And especially in the 9th inning, that's the difference between a blown save and a win. So he's pretty incredible, and there's a great reason why right there.
And FP, how many infielders even have that play cross their mind on a bunt like that?
I was just going to ask Drew, who does that? I mean, no third baseman I've seen on a first and second, nobody out, throws the ball to second base. It's usually you have a play on, maybe you try to get the lead runner at third, or you just choke it off and go to first. I don't know that I've ever seen a guy go to second base like that before.
Yeah, physically that's an incredible play, but mentally that's pretty sharp right there. Put yourself in the situation to say, if that's hard enough, I'm going to get him at 2, because it keeps the double play open right there, and I'd be intrigued to see the center field view on that, because that ball probably had a pretty interesting path to get there.
It did. I mean, we're looking straight from behind home plate. He started about 5 feet left from where we're sitting of second base and just kind of ran a sinker back right on the money, right across the base.
Kind of one of those wiffle ball pitches right there, I feel like.
Absolutely.
Yeah. 1 ball and 1 strike to Ryan Strebe. He's 0 for 2, couple of ground balls. Detweiler could use one here to get out of this inning. Tigers have scored in 3 consecutive innings. Ross features that good heater, and he throws it right by the right-hander.
What are you throwing right here, Drew, if you're Ross Detweiler?
I would stick with a heater. I mean, he's got great plane, and he throws a little bit across his body, so you get a little movement and try to get the 2 ball here. You just locate a good heater down in the zone. Now, me, I would actually throw a slider, but if I'm Ross, I throw a fastball.
Because Ross wants a double play, you go for the punch out.
Yeah.
Did he offer the breaking ball? It is a swing.
Love it.
And that is it for the second out. Good breaking ball in the dirt. Hey, Drew, thanks for spending some time with us. I'm flattered that you would even remember part of my talk to the team today. And I'll try to come up with some original material, God willing, if we're all here a year from now.
That sounds good. I appreciate you guys having me.
All right, buddy. One of the great characters on our team. His dad's a broadcaster, longtime sports radio talk show host in the Indianapolis area, Drew Storin.
He's too good. He was on too long. I was getting a little uncomfortable there.
I saw you pulling up your contract on the laptop there to check.
I was telling Chip in the truck, get him off. Get him off. He's too good.
He's got lots of years of between the lines in front of him. Gerald Laird, 1 for 2 with an RBI single. Detweiler mindful of Don Kelly at first base. Nats are down 5-1. They've now been out hit by the Tigers 8-4.
Just so you know, I wasn't aware that he did a Bob Carpenter impression until today. And so when I heard he was coming on tonight, all the guys in the clubhouse were telling me to tee him up. Zim, Worth, everybody.
Yeah.
Make Drew on TV do his Bob Carpenter.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, because Ryan's heard my story like 5-6 times now. So, 2-0. It is funny. What the clubhouse doesn't know is, and I hope some of them are in there, we always have the last word.
Absolutely. That's just great.
2 balls and a strike. But, they make us feel part of the team, and we appreciate that. And the Masson relationship with this ball club, there's ownership at stake on both sides. It's a very unique relationship, and we're very proud of it. Three balls and a strike to Laird. First and third, 2 outs.
That's a good example of Ross Detweiler's fastball right there. Laird ahead in the count 3-1. He was late. I remember Ross Detweiler starts last year. I was really impressed with him from the first pitch of the game. I mean, he would come right out of the gate throwing 94, 95 miles an hour. A lot of times it takes a power guy a little bit of time to get loose and settle in. But for Ross, it was right out of the gate, every single start with a good fastball.
That'll be Detweiler's second walk in his appearance here. By the way, next half inning, we are hoping to have Edwin Jackson on with us to talk about pitching into the 4th inning tonight and some of the things he's done this spring. Number 9 hitter is Eric Patterson, the DH. Bases are loaded, 2 outs. Despite some of the control problems and a bunch of hits lately by the Tigers, the Nats haven't given up more than 1 run in any of these innings. Trying to keep it that way here in the 5th. Looking out to the southwest here from Space Coast Stadium.
You see the frustration right there that Ross Detweiler has. He wanted to throw that pitch on the outer half and bounced it. Just struggling with his command a little bit today.
Short right field. Espinosa out. Worth behind him, and Danny has it. So the Nats give up another single run. Ryan Zimmerman up second in the 5th inning. It's a 5-1 Tiger lead. And Zimmerman, Michael Morse up for the Nats. A 5-1 Tiger lead. Edwin Jackson made his 3rd appearance of the spring. Pitched into the 4th inning. Edwin, good to have you. This is Bob upstairs with FP, and we're so pleased to have you on the ball club. Welcome.
It's great to be here, Bob. How you doing? It's a great club, man. I'm pretty happy to be part of the staff.
And you had an interesting season last year, ending up in the World Series and getting a ring. So now you come to Washington, a ball club that appears to be on its way up. So with you and Gio and Strasburg and Jordan Zimmerman, how are you feeling about this rotation?
I feel pretty good, man. I mean, we all feel great right now. We're pretty excited to get this season started. You know, being real optimistic about the things that we can get done and the goals that we can accomplish, you know, feeding off each other.
And talk about your outing tonight, Edwin. How'd you feel out there?
It's crazy, you know, spring training, you know, results, not necessarily telling how you feel, but I felt pretty good tonight. Got out of sync in the 4th inning, and of course that's what happens when you walk people. You know, you get a ball up the middle, great play by Ian Desmond, and then you get a big blue hit and it scores a run. It's a pretty big thing when you walking people in the inning, just try to make them earn their way on and make them hit their way on. But overall, I felt pretty good.
Are you a guy that when he gets into a rhythm, gets into a groove, obviously you're more effective, but your last outing against the Astros, you talked about maybe not thinking too much, just going out there and throwing?
Definitely. I mean, we get paid to play. The more we think in this game, the worse off we are. You know, we're athletes. When we go out and we do what we can do naturally, we play the game a whole lot better.
Danny Espinosa 2 for 3 with that base hit. Now, Edwin, we heard that earlier in spring training, somebody on the staff spotted something in your delivery that could be changed, that could help you. Without giving too much away, what's the story and what's been the result?
I mean, there's been a rumor around that I have been taking pitches, but I mean, could be not. But I mean, the main thing is just come find a delivery that I can simplify and that I can stay comfortable with, and repeating the same thing over and over. And that's what we're doing right now.
And for those fans that don't know, tipping pitches, you know, a pitcher does something in his delivery or flares his glove, gives something away of what he's going to throw on certain pitches. And at the major league level, the whole other team's watching the pitcher. They're watching his glove. Maybe it's higher out of the set in for one pitch. Maybe he flares his glove on a changeup. But a lot of times, Edwin, it really doesn't even matter. I know Randy Johnson, his whole career tipped his pitches, and he didn't care. He just went out there and did his thing. Is that to where you're at with this whole thing, or did you make some adjustments and you have corrected it?
Definitely. I mean, at the end of the day, you have to go out and execute. Hitters can know what's coming, but if you execute your pitches and keeping the ball down, mixing it up well, you may get out of it still. But the thing is now just go out and to go out without thinking about mechanics, without thinking about ticking. Just go out, see the glove, and throw the ball to the glove and have fun. It's pretty much what I'm trying to get back to. I kind of got away from it.
You pitched in a ball club ending last season where things came together really well once they got their bullpen all in order. This appears to be a wonderful bullpen, and now Brad Lidge comes aboard, backing you guys up. How confident does that make you feel when you've got Lidge and Clippard and Storin and some other guys back there?
I mean, as a starter, that's the best feeling you can have. Having confidence in the guys that are coming in behind you once you leave the game. And I mean, a strong bullpen definitely wins a lot of games in it. You look at every championship club, and they do have a strong bullpen. You know, starter's going to go out, and the starter's going to do what the starter's going to do. But you get the starter into the 6th, 7th inning and deeper, and you have those strong guys at the back end of the bullpen coming in, closing the doors down. It's definitely great for a ball club.
And Edwin, you were with the Cardinals last year in that tremendous stretch run in September, and we all know about October. You know, what's the one thing you take away from that experience that you could, you know, tell some of the guys on the Nats that maybe haven't been through something like that before?
The thing is, you have to go out and you have to be yourself. You can't let the atmosphere change who you are as a pitcher or who you are as a player, because it's easy to do. You know, you have 2 times more adrenaline. You know, it's a hostile environment when you're on the road, and I mean, it's playoffs and World Series, and the world is watching, but pretty much you just have to go out and do what got you to the point where you are right now and have fun. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a game. We got to have fun, but at the end of the day, we still have to focus and, you know, be ready to do what we have to do. But once you get in between the lines, you know, it's game on. Don't give anybody too much credit. Come at them.
Well, I'm glad to hear you thrive in that atmosphere, because it won't take too long for us to go to Philadelphia. You'll feel it up there, buddy.
Definitely. That's what I hear. I hear us in Philly. You know, there's a lot going on between the 2 teams, but it should be fun to be part of.
Hey, thanks for your time, Edwin. We appreciate it. Have a great spring.
No problem. Thank you.
Edwin Jackson. Fly ball to Clete Thomas off the bat of Mark DeRosa. Nats gone, and on to the 6th inning we go with the Tigers on top 5-1. And the Nats have an entirely new infield here. And we've got a 5-game flex plan for you. Ignite your natitude with the Nationals 5-game plan. Pick 4 games, get a 5th one free starting at just $60. Go to nationals.com/flex for more ticket information. Mark Tien takes over at third base for the Nats. Blanco at short. Lombardozzi at second, and Chad Tracy over there at first. Ross Detweiler still in the ball game. Austin Jackson leads off for the Tigers, 6th inning. Jackson 1 for 2 with a base hit, a run, and a walk.
We'll see for Ross Detweiler after last inning. He just wants to end today on a good note. Pound the strike zone, 1, 2, 3. Get out of here with a good taste in your mouth.
On a good breaking ball in the dirt, the strikeout, his second. Actually, his third strikeout after 2 walks.
Yeah, strike 1, strike 2, and strike 3. So for Ross Detweiler, nice rebound right here. You see the curveball in the dirt. Jackson couldn't hold up. Good late break. You got your scorecard all set?
Yes, I do.
Got your new infield in there?
Martin, Andres Blanco, Steven Lombardozzi, or Steve, if you will, and Chad Tracy. And Jason Worth is still in right field, probably because he's due to lead off in the bottom of the 6th, get one more AB, making it 3 for the night. The hitter is Andy Dirks for the Tigers. There's a busted bat. Here comes Blanco. Bare hand. He did well just to even make an attempt on that one. That'll be a base hit all the way.
That's either the second or third bat that Ross Detweiler has broke tonight.
Yeah.
So whatever, when you look at the line score tomorrow, it won't tell you that, but that tells you what kind of stuff that Ross Detweiler has. Nice effort by Blanco.
He's a young shortstop from Venezuela. Appeared in 36 games for the Rangers last year, hitting .224. Good glove man. Cleat Thomas. Fly ball to left that was dropped. An RBI single and a bunt base hit that got the Tigers going on their run last inning. So 1 on 1 out here, and Detweiler misses low. That ball is well hit to left center. But often those will slice back to the left fielder, and Michaels is there to grab it.
It just goes to show you what a crazy game this is.
Yeah, last time up. Little dribbler.
Broken bat base hit that bloops over the pitcher's mound. And that ball was absolutely hit on the screws to left center field for an out. That's why you take him any way you can get him as a hitter.
Ryan Rayburn will be next. 2 outs and a runner at first. Rayburn's had a big night. The 2-run homer in the first, an RBI single in the 5th. And those of you from the Commonwealth, we're expecting one of your native sons to join us shortly. And that's the Commonwealth of Virginia, of course.
Well, he was the one that wanted to get Drew Storin on to do his Bob Carpenter impersonation. Yeah, he was the leader of that one.
I'll deal with Zim later. Gentleman Zim, as we call him. Now, you talk about the facial hair. I know I'm in Vieira every year when I come and see the clean-cut third baseman. 2 balls and no strikes. Detweiler, a long look. There's another busted bat. Tigers' bus is going to be a lot lighter going back to their ballpark tonight. Good inning by Detweiler. Joins us. Ryan, you're swinging the bat great. Kind of reminds us of last year when you told FP, hey, I'm ready to go north right now.
Yeah, no, I'm feeling good. I think my body is all the way back to being healthy, and I'm just excited to be out here and be with the guys. And we have an exciting team this year. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Has it always been like that for you? I mean, just a quick starter every spring, just raking?
It's not easy to just come out and hit, but for some reason I like playing at this state, and the wind always blows to right here, so it's a good park for me with the way I hit.
It's a good habit to get into, as we talked about. This park can help you in the spring. Now, Ryan, you came up in September of 05. 06 was your first full season. Can you even begin to talk about the difference in this ball club and this organization from then and now?
Yeah, I mean, it's night and day. You come over, or I was drafted, and they were owned by Major League Baseball, and now obviously the Lerner family owns it, and they've done great since they've come here. And it started with Jim Bowden, and now Rizzo has done a great job of, getting us a solid farm system, and now we're starting to see some of those guys come up, and we really have a really good young core group of players that are going to be together for a long time. And it's a really fun clubhouse to be in, and this year is going to be real exciting.
Jason Worth hits one deep to right.
That's a homer
against Jose Valverde. It's not coming back, and the Nats are on the board. 5-2 game, and Jason Worth's second homer of the spring.
I told you the ball goes to right.
You like it.
That's a good sign, huh, Ryan? Seeing him go the other way like that with that kind of authority?
Yeah, I came down here, and we were here about a week early. Both of us got here, and I went over there, and I was watching him hit the first day, and he was a completely different hitter from that first day. I think the second half of last year, he kind of turned the page a little bit, turned the corner, and it's not easy to come over to a new place with that kind of pressure that you've never had on you before. But he looks great, and he's going to be a big part of this team this year.
Nationals with their 10th homer of the spring. Worth has a couple. Ryan, of course, has a couple. It's a bouncing ball off the bat of Ramos' right side, and that's the first out here in the bottom of the sixth. Ryan, congratulations, by the way, on the contract extension. I know that means a lot to you and your family. The money is secondary, I'm sure, but it's the knowledge now that you're a part of this thing for a long, long time.
Yeah, and that was the goal. That was the reason for the whole contract to begin with. Like you said, the money is whatever it is, and but I really wanted to be here the whole time. I've been here when it's been not so good to be here, and now it's we're turning that corner, and it's going to be good for a long time. So I wanted to make sure that I was going to be here for the whole time and be able to enjoy the good times.
All right, who taught you to run straight to home plate with runners at first and second on a little bitty bouncer in front of you, and then just throw right across your knees down to second base, a perfect bullet for a force out? Where does that come from?
Well, the first guy in the inning, I mean, I know Clete, but we played against each other in college. He was at Auburn, but he's hitting third tonight, so I'm thinking he's going to swing, and he drops one down on me. So, I don't like letting people bunt on me. So I said, if this guy's going to bunt, I'm going to get up there and get it and get this guy at second, just to make sure they know that they can't bunt on me.
Wow, so I'm up here saying I've never seen that before. First and second, nobody out. The third baseman, usually there's a play on. You try to get the lead runner at third, or you just choke it off and go to first, and you were already predetermined that if he bunted this, I'm going to second base.
Yeah, and we actually worked on that the first week we were here. Davey and Eck and all those guys are like, hey, if it's bunting hard, you can get the guy at second a lot easier than you can get the guy at third. Now you have the double play set up, so it kind of takes away the point of their bunt, which is what you want to do anyway.
And the double play you turned, the 5-3 unassisted, we were joking, your lenses of your sunglasses were all lit up. So when you touched third base, I said he didn't even see Mark DeRosa at first.
Yeah, the first 4 innings on night games here are tough. I was talking with Don, their third baseman, and he caught that chopper. I forget who hit it, but he said he looked over there and all you see is shadows. So you got to go back to that muscle memory and just kind of throw it over there where you've done millions of times.
Yeah, that was the one by Michael Morse with a runner at second base. Back in the third inning.
Yeah.
2 balls and 2 strikes to Brett Carroll. Ryan Zimmerman visiting with us from the dugout. Bottom of the 5th, Nats have scored on the Worth home run. Bottom of the 6th, actually, and a 5-2 ball game. And a 2-2 to Brett Carroll. Ryan, I know your dad had a birthday yesterday. What would you like to say back home?
Yeah, happy birthday to the young man back home. I'm sure he's watching. Him and my mom, watch every game that's on TV. So figured it'd only be right to wish him a happy birthday and hope that they're doing well back there. I know they're excited for the season just like everyone else is.
Going to be interesting starting that first week on the road, places like Chicago and New York.
Yeah, it could be a little chilly, but I think, also you can look at it as a chance to get off to a good start. Obviously we don't take any teams lightly, but, we can go up to Chicago and then into New York, obviously in our division. And, we just want to take 2 out of 3 in every series this year. That's everyone's goal, I think. And, get off to a good start would be a great start, a great thing for this team.
Hey, Ryan, on your double, I noticed you went into second, spikes first. You hurt yourself on a head-first slide in New York last year that led to that injury that kept you out for a while. Are you going to try to go feet first this year?
I'm going to try. I mean, I always try. I think, sometimes, instincts just take over. If you're kind of stumbling, you just kind of fall forward. I wouldn't say I'm the fastest guy that needs to do anything for speed purposes. But, I think obviously sliding head first is a lot safer. But, as far as the injury and everything goes, I feel great. I think, I'm full bore. I can do whatever. But, I think sliding feet first is going to be the goal from here on out.
See, I tried to convince my partner all last season that sliding head first is safer. And you just said it was safer, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's
I'm not buying it, boys. Sorry.
It's either way. I don't know. I mean, just hit home runs and you don't have to slide anywhere.
That's what I'm talking about. Well, I'm up here thinking, you're locked in right now. What's your approach the rest of spring training? Do you go up to Davey and say, hey, Skipper, I don't really need a whole lot of at-bats? Because there's got to be that battle between I got to get my work in, but I'm kind of getting to where I need to be at the end of the month already.
Yeah, I think, the biggest thing is just to get your routine down. And it's so hard to do it down here because you play so many day games. And, we're always used to playing at night. So you get to the field around 1, you do your stuff. And for me, this year my goal is to stay on that routine the whole year, whether it's a day game, a night game, and I've been doing it here. You go out to the cage before the game, get your work in, get some stuff in so you feel good. And, the spring training, the first week and a half, the other pitchers, they're not throwing curveballs. They're not throwing a lot of the pitches you're going to see. So, obviously, you can hit fastballs. But I think the next step now is to start seeing some breaking balls, some change-ups. I saw a few tonight, which is good. And I think, success down here is always nice. But I think more importantly, just feeling comfortable and getting into the swing of things and seeing some pitches that you're going to see during the year is the biggest part of it.
0-2 with 2 outs to Jason Michaels. Michaels 0 for 2 with a couple of ground balls. Hey, Ryan, real quick. If you stay healthy, LaRoche stays healthy, as I knock on wood. Those 2 kids up the middle, Lombardozzi can move around, Mark DeRosa can do some things. How tight and good can this infield defense be?
No, it's incredible. And I think, we had some injuries last year. And anytime you have injuries to guys that are not only hitting in the middle of the lineup, but also defensively help your team, it's hard to plug in guys. I mean, it's not bench guys or guys that play once every week. It's not their job to come in and play 100 games and do well. I think nice catch. It's just really hard for them to come in. So it's our job to stay healthy, and I think if we do that, we can do a lot better than we did last year.
Hey, Ryan, thanks for your time, buddy. All the best down here.
All right, thanks, guys.
Ryan Zimmerman, his buddy Jason Worth, a swing that impressed Zimmerman for sure. Worth's second homer of the spring. And the Nats on the board. It's 5-2 Tigers into the 7th. So Ross Detweiler gives up a run or two along the way, but he gets this game into the 7th. That's Yuri Perez, a young man who might have a very bright future in center field. Not maybe major league ready just yet. And Jonathan Solano behind the plate. And on the mound, an emerging story for the Nats here in spring training. And that, of course, is Brad Lidge.
And Brad Lidge, we all know, fastball, slider. One of the best sliders in baseball. He throws it, get this, folks, 82% of the time. It's one of those pitches where as a hitter, you know it's coming, you sit on it, and you still can't hit it. So his fastball go low to mid-90s. And his slider's in the low 80s. Two-pitch guy.
Johnny Peralta leads off for the Tigers here. Jim Leland, even some of his veteran guys in the ball game for quite a while. Don Kelly will be next. Peralta tonight 1 for 2 with a walk, a run scored, and a base hit.
And we talked about it. We had Brad Lidge the first game we did down here, and he said this is the first spring training in a while where he's felt healthy from the get-go. You know, every year he's hurt, he's playing catch-up, and he's at FP. I feel great this year. I'm ahead of the curve. I've been hurt the last couple of seasons to where, you know, maybe once I get to the season, that's my spring training. I'm playing catch-up ball, but this year, starting out healthy, we're both knocking on wood. And, you know, to a man, everybody speaks about the character of the guy on the mound right now.
Yeah, look at that hook.
And that's the slider I'm talking about. You know, Trevor Hoffman had the Bugs Bunny disappearing changeup. I think you could say the same thing about Brad Lidge's slider. You know, watch the late action. It looks like it's going to be up. Almost split action to it, straight down. No shot.
41 for 41 in a championship year for the Phillies.
That's an ultimate compliment I, as a hitter, could give to a pitcher, that I'm sitting on your pitch and I still can't hit it. You know, usually a major league hitter sits on a pitch, he gets it, he's going to put it into play somewhere pretty hard.
Interesting story by Adam Kilgore yesterday in the Washington Post about the bullpen and the fact that Davey Johnson is not going to load up Storin and Clippard maybe the same way that Jim Riggleman did. And this guy right here, the manager, and this pitcher will be a big part of that, because Brad Lidge can set up. If maybe Storin is a little overworked, he can step in and save a ball game. If Clippard's overworked, he can step in and set up a ball game.
And those guys did work a lot last year, so that's good news for them. It's good news for Brad Lidge. It's good news for everybody.
I want them all fresh, says Davey Johnson. On an off-speed pitch, waiting for it and hitting it well is Kelly. That is Yuri Perez out in right field to grab it for the second out here. Thursday, April 12th. Opening day at home against the Reds. First 20,000 fans, an opening day cap from Geico. Friday night, first 15,000 receive a Natitude t-shirt from 106.7 The Fan. And then Saturday, first 15,000 fans for a 405 against the Reds get a Steven Strasburg bobblehead presented by PNC Bank. Nationals.com/tickets. How about the Reds with that hard-throwing staff and Joey Votto coming to town?
It's opening day. It doesn't matter who it is.
It's just kind of odd, the schedule this year. The Nats open against the NL Central, and then home opening day is against the NL Central. Cubs, Reds. Brad Lidge appears to have a quick inning if somebody can grab this. Perez is under it, and Brad Lidge, a 1-2-3, top of the 7th. Top of the order coming up for the Nats, down by 3.
There's Strauss.
Down here a little bit, a lot of offense in the early part and then the middle part of the ball game. And now the pitchers are taking over. Some good bullpen work now by Brad Lidge. And Jason Worth encourages us with his second home run of the spring.
Yeah, a little Oppo Taco early in the spring for Jason Worth. You look at the approach. Davey Johnson talking about how much better he looks this spring from last spring. You see the results right there. Just let the ball get deep, crushing it the other way.
And a familiar right-hander who we saw for a couple of years in the National League with Houston. Some time in St. Louis, some time in Oakland. Octavio Dotel takes over, and this guy's always had a great arm. 65 ball games last year. Called upon to save a game on occasion like he did earlier in his career.
And how big was he for the Cardinals down the stretch and in the playoffs last year? So valuable. He's got a cut fastball, a four-seam fastball, and a slider. That cut fastball will go 92 to 95 miles an hour, and he throws it a lot.
36 games in Toronto, then 29 in St. Louis last year.
And he was one of the guys that Tony La Russa just threw out there pretty much every day in September, a lot during the playoffs. Veteran guy that just went right after guys, kind of solidified that Cardinals bullpen that was shaky the first half of the season.
Yeah, 38 years of age now for the native of Santo Domingo. Little seventh inning stretch, feeding time here. Top of the order, Andres Blanco for the Nats. Took over at shortstop for Desmond. Blanco for Texas last year at Round Rock. 227, that's their AAA. He hit a couple of homers for the Rangers. 3 RBIs in 36 games. He is a Venezuelan shortstop, which means he's a good glove man, as many have been. He'll use his legs to get to second base. Ball took a tricky hop on Ryan Strebe, and the Nats have a leadoff man at second base here in the 7th inning.
Love the hustle. Not just satisfied with a base hit, but right out of the box, he's thinking two. Check out Blanco. Got the bat hop. Hey, I'm going for 2 right here. And he makes it easy.
Official score has ruled that an error.
Official score never got a bat hop before.
No kidding.
That's a double all the way.
Here's Steven Lombardozzi. And I'll get used to calling him Steve here pretty soon. Talked to him about that last week. He said, that's fine.
He said, if I'm in the big leagues,
you can call me Ray, you can call me Jay.
I don't know if he said that.
3 for 16 over 7 games for Lombardozzi. One of the bright shining stars of the Nationals organization last year, earned a September call-up. Took him a while to get that first big league hit. He went 6 for 31 with an RBI. And he takes one low and inside on a fastball from Dotel, suddenly 3-0. All right, there's 2 on, nobody out. Now, Octavio Dotel gets to deal with Mark Teahan. He's 1 for 15 this spring, but he has driven in 3 runs. Where's the Redlands? Do you know? Redlands, California?
It's by Redlands, up north, over by the mountains somewhere. No, I have no idea.
You really narrowed it down there for me. He was with the White Sox for 51 games last year. FPOB in midseason geographical form. Give him a couple more games, folks.
Funny
with the White Sox and Toronto last year, Mark Teahan.
Funny about Mark Teahan, when I was coaching in San Jose, A-ball for the Giants, coaching third base, he was a young prospect in the Oakland A's organization. He was part of that Moneyball draft, so I got to know him real well over there, talking to him, playing for the Modesto A's back in 2003, I believe.
Now known as the Modesto Nuts.
Yes.
Well, the Nats suddenly have the tying run in the batter's box here in the bottom of the 7th. Good late movement on that one by Dotel. Tien thought he was right on that pitch.
That was not 88 miles an hour.
Well hit to left. It's diving, and the bases will be loaded with nobody out on a great swing by Mark Tien.
A nice job of hitting with 2 strikes right there. Making the adjustment, getting the foot down a little bit earlier than the swing before. That's big league hitting. Fastball was by Tien the pitch before that, but look at him get the foot down early, get the barrel out there. Smoke a line drive to left field, bases loaded, nobody out. The Nats are in business.
Tyler Moore will become the DH as he hits for Michael Morse. Harrisburg last year, the well-documented 31 homers and 90 RBIs. And a breaking ball low and away. Third base, Blanco reached on the 2-base error that could have been ruled a hit. Lombardozzi a walk, and then Tien a base hit. There's our base running bunch. Fastball on the corner.
See, that's a good take right there from a young hitter. You're heading the count 1-0. Bases loaded, nobody out. You're looking for a pitch to drive to do some serious damage right here. There's no reason when you're heading the count to swing at a borderline pitch on the black. It was a strike, but you're looking for one pitch in one spot in your zone.
Down and in, and he golfs it down the line. Kelly and Peralta there to. The ball is dropped, and here we've got a fire drill now. That would have been a force play at home, but making the tag was Laird anyway. So that'll go 5-2 on a fly ball. I mean, this is no man's land for base runners.
It is. There's not a whole lot you can do right there. Just a short pop-up down the left field line. But this is a shortstop's ball all the way. As a third baseman, when you go back on a baseball, sometimes the ball gets lost behind your head. That's why in that little Bermuda Triangle down there, the shortstop has to take this ball. You got to take charge right there, but maybe when you're wearing number 70, you defer to a guy that played in the big leagues all last season.
Yeah.
Still, at any level, that's a shortstop for baseball.
That's Argenis Diaz now playing third base for the Tigers, and a bit of an adventure. But I mean, just nothing base runners can do on that. So Chad Tracy is the hitter, came in to take over at first base for Mark DeRosa. Tracy in Japan last year hitting .235 with a homer and 19 RBIs. In the past, a proven big league power hitter. Tracy, 27 homers, 72 RBIs for the 05 Diamondbacks. Moved on to the Cubs in 2010, has bounced around a bit since then.
Well, this will be his job if he makes the team right here. Pop off the bench late when you're behind off a good reliever.
That ball will carry out to center. Lombardozzi, good speed at third. Tigers will go ahead and throw it home, but they hit the cutoff man, and it's a 5-3 game. That's Quentin Berry, by the way, playing center field for them. And Tracy picks up the RBI that makes it a 2-run game.
Good at bat right there by Chad Tracy. You know, obviously he'd probably want a double in the gap ideally, or a home run, but when you go up there off the bench cold and you get the job done, you drive in a run, that's a great AB.
Yuri Perez will be the hitter. 21 years of age. He can fly. Having a good spring. 6 for 13, hitting .462. And he had 45 stolen bases at Potomac last year. He's effective when he hits ground balls and line drives, and that one in the air for the left fielder Dirks. And the Nats will settle for a run in the 7th. It's a 5-3 game now. Nice crowd, nice Friday evening here. Friday evening, what am I talking about? It's Tuesday. It seems like the weekend. Playing a night game. Space Coast Stadium. And our copyrighted telecast presented by authority of the Washington Nationals may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the expressed written consent of the Washington Nationals.
It does feel like a Friday. I've thought that a couple times tonight. Yeah, it really does.
As a rule, night games here would be Friday nights. We will have one on March 30th, and we'll see what Tyler Clippard's doing this spring by then. Storybook season, went to the All-Star game. If I remember correctly, didn't the Nats play the Rockies right before the break, and he got to fly with Troy Tulowitzki?
He did.
Out west, that was cool. Tulo showing his class by inviting Tyler along for the ride. Omir Santos, a former Mets catcher and farmhand, replacing Gerald Laird here.
It was interesting to watch the evolution of Tyler Clippard last year. You all know about the fastball and the change. You remember late in the season he started to start hitters out with the first pitch get me over slider?
Yeah.
Everybody was sitting on a first pitch fastball, a first pitch change, and he made that adjustment late in the season to get strike one with a little get me over slider, and it worked.
Yeah, suddenly video guys all over the National League were pausing their machines and having to input all kinds of new data. The adjustments you make as you go along. Santos hits that ball pretty well to right center. On the run, Brett Carroll, and he will pull it in short of the track. Eric Patterson, the DH, will be next. We'll be back with you 1 o'clock. Yeah, it'll be a matinee on Thursday. Shin-Ming Wong, how about that, against his old buddies, the Yankees. Michael Pineda for the Yanks. Pineda, by the way, has a 1.93 ERA in the spring. And we'll see the Yankees, and it'll be interesting to see who they bring from Tampa, because I'm just trying to think of the times I've had to drive between here and Tampa. Charlie Slows would know this better than us, but it's upwards of 2 hours plus from Tampa over here, probably 2.5 hours once you work your way through and around Orlando. So that's a relatively long trip. We're told there are 86 toll booths between here and there.
There is. If you don't have that fast pass thing or whatever it's called.
Man, if you're going to drive in Florida, you better have a roll of quarters with you. Patterson 0 for 3 tonight. We actually televised a game from Tampa 2 years ago when Levan pitched against the Yankees. That was cool. Getting a chance to see Steinbrenner Field over there. They built that ballpark right across the street from where the Cincinnati Reds trained for years in Tampa at old Al Lopez Field before they moved to Plant City and then eventually out to Arizona.
My last year I went to spring training with the Yankees, and I'll tell you what, you get to the ballpark, you pull your car up into your parking spot, and there's a little old man in a golf cart that takes you from your door. You barely set foot in the parking lot. It takes
because you're a Yankee.
Because he takes you to the clubhouse, and on the way to the clubhouse you look to your left, and there's a food room there with a guy in a chef's hat with about everything you could imagine for breakfast in the morning.
Because you're a Yankee.
And then you walk into the clubhouse, and the security guard in front of the clubhouse has a ring on one finger and a ring on the other finger.
Because he's a Yankee.
And you walk in, and there's Clemens and Jeter and Bernie Williams and Jorge Posada and Mariano Rivera. And all of a sudden, after you've played a while in the big leagues, you feel like, oh, my gosh, I'm a rookie again. I finally made it to the big leagues. Just a whole different world those guys go through. I mean, the buses, when they pull up to spring training, have police escorts, and there's fans everywhere, and that's just spring training. I remember asking Derek Jeter, if it's like this in spring training, what's it like during the season? He said, bro, you don't even want to know.
Yeah. Did you make it home with some Yankee swag, by the way?
I did. I still have it 12 years later.
There's that killer changeup by Clippard. Man, it looks like a heater. You swing, and the ball's not there yet.
There's the elbows and the kneecaps, and all of a sudden the ball comes out of nowhere.
He even had the pinky flying off the ball that time. Did you see that?
It's the changeup grip. Very loose.
I think a case could be made for Tyler Clippard being the most effective high ball pitcher in baseball.
You know,
who operates better high in the zone than he does.
And we saw last year all the opponents swinging at the high fastball up in their eyes, and it has to do with his delivery, his mechanics, his motion, and his release point. It has to look like it's coming down in the strike zone. It just stays about letter to face high.
You know, and he'll give up some home runs because of that.
And I was saying last year that I want to know what the hitters are seeing. I would give anything to get in the box against Tyler Clippard, and I said that on the air. And the next day he walked in the clubhouse. He said, "Bring it on, meat. Let's go."
I would. You know what? We could set up a live telecast for that 5 or 10 minute sequence.
Oh, it'd be a 3-pitch see ya. I wouldn't even get the bat off my shoulders.
So that would be the shortest show in the history of Massey.
Absolutely.
Well, we could do a half-hour pregame show to set it all up.
But Mariano Rivera was like that early in his career. When you faced him, it looked like the ball was going to be about mid-thigh high, and you go to swing, and it was right across your letters.
Clippard continues to pound the strike zone. 2 balls and 2 strikes now to Quentin Berry. Came into play center field.
A well-located fastball right here on the black away. Nice. Pretty good frame job on the backhand.
And a 2-2. Fastball up. And a good job by Berry of just riding that thing into left field. Didn't try to do too much.
I'll tell you what, as a young guy in camp, when you face a guy established like Tyler Clippard, an all-star, and you do that, that's something you're going to go home and call the parents about tonight. So you see that hack? I got to knock off an all-star. Nice swing.
Andy Dirks, the left fielder, has played all the way tonight. 2 strikeouts, 2 base hits. Challenge fastball on the first one. So he throws you the heater, and then you get that thing diving down and away from you just as you commit.
Yeah, that's the changeup right there. Here's a good reminder of what it looked like all last year.
You sure you want to get in there?
No. I just want to look. I don't want to participate. I just want to be a pair of shoes and look at 3 pitches.
No balls, 2 strikes. And Clippard. I thought Greg Gibson was about to get up and rip the pages on that one, but he didn't.
That's spring training for the umpires, too.
He's hearing about it from Jonathan Solano, the catcher.
Wow, and he showed him how much it was off the plate. I don't think it was quite as much as he said.
On a changeup, busted bat. It's under the glove of Tracy. Perez will have to hurry as Berry approaches third. Gene Lamont sends him, and the hitter ends up with an RBI triple. Tigers lead 6-3.
A pretty good gamble by Gene Lamont right there, the veteran third base coach. 2 outs, he decides to send the runner. You're already up by 2, why not 3? This gets a piece of the changeup right out over the plate. Pretty good relay. Lombardozzi just peaked, I think, a little bit too soon. And that was the difference.
Andy Dirks, 3 hits tonight. He is 8 for 20. Hitting .400 on the spring now for the Tigers, as Ernie Harwell used to call him. Here's Cleet Thomas. He has 2 hits tonight, couple of runs scored. They've out hit the Nats 11-7 and lead 6-3.
Now, we've seen Tyler Clippard in the past. When he throws a first pitch changeup like that and he gets a swing through, he'll throw 2 more. Back to back to back, but you never know at spring training. You might be working on other things. There's another one.
That's a beauty. 80, says the gun.
I'd be shocked if he throws anything else. Sometimes you go fastball up and try to get a swing through, chase up in the eyes, then go back to the changeup. But when you see two swings like that, the hitter's not recognizing the pitch at all.
Target in. Clipper does go heater and gets the strikeout. 2 Ks in the inning, a run on 2 hits. And after 7.5, the Tigers lead the Nationals 6-3. Bottom 8, bottom of the order due up for the Nationals. Pick 4 games, get a 5th one free. We call it a 5-game flex plan. You can ignite your natitude with tickets starting as low as $60. Go to nationals.com/flex for all your Nationals 2012 regular season. Lots of fun at the ballpark. Ticket information. Luis Marte, right-hander, 4 games for the Tigers last year.
That 4-seam fastball slider change. Fastball 90 to 92. It keeps it away from lefties. His changeup's in the low 80s.
23 games at AA Erie, 2 at AAA Toledo, and then just 4 for the Tigers. Nats will lead off with their catcher, Jonathan Solano, here in the bottom of the 8th. Solano has had 7 at-bats, still looking for that first base hit. He's a 26-year-old catcher from Columbia who hit .275 with 33 RBIs on 5 homers at Syracuse last year. And then Brett Carroll and Jason Michaels scheduled behind him here in the 8th. Look out. Phil Wood almost got that one next to us.
Almost got him right in the head.
Craig Heist and Phil Wood in the same booth. That was almost a major blow to the Metro media. Phil, of course, Johnny and Ray all teaming up for Nats Extra this year. And the Mid-Atlantic Sports Report to his left, Rayburn handles that one, and that's the first out here at the bottom of the 8th. Let's talk about new Nats. Gio Gonzalez, of course, the centerpiece. 31 wins the last 2 years for Oakland. Jackson, we've seen him tonight. Brad Lidge, DeRosa, Carroll, Michaels, they've all been in the game tonight. All these guys. Chad Tracy, of course, has the advantage of being a left-handed batter. And Chad Tracy's 30 years of age. He's 7 years younger than Jason Michaels.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see who gets that job. Like we said earlier in the broadcast, Davey likes pop off the bench late in the game. That's why that at-bat suited Chad Tracy so well earlier. Bases loaded, 1 out. It's probably the situation that's going to arise where he'd be used during the regular season, coming off the bench, pitcher spot, or maybe pinch hitting for a right-hander. When you're behind in the game, some pop off the bench to tie the thing up.
Brett Carroll will turn 30 years of age this year. Had only 3 ABs at the major league level for Milwaukee, but he was at Nashville, their AAA all year. Hit .281 with 15 homers and 51 RBIs there. He's always been a good hitter. Saw him years ago with the Marlins. 0 for 3 tonight, 5 for 21, playing in his 9th spring game. Marte misses way upstairs, 2-2. If you didn't hear us earlier, Strasburg goes tomorrow at Atlanta, actually at Disney against the Braves. And our game on Thursday at 1 will have Chin-Ming Wong against the Yankees. We will also televise next Wednesday and then on Friday the 30th. Braves here next Wednesday, the Marlins on Friday the 30th. Swing and a miss on a big breaking ball way outside. 2 down. Jason Michaels will get a 4th at bat tonight. He's 0 for 3. Talking earlier about the American League Central, we understand that Adam Dunn has done a lot of hard working out during the season. He's dropped a bunch of weight, and the White Sox need him if they have any chance against these Tigers and some of the up-and-coming young teams in that division like Kansas City.
You know, everybody says you want to forget a bad season, but I disagree. I think you want to remember a bad season so you remember how you felt and, you know, all those days you went home frustrated so that it never happens again.
Really a season for the ages for Dunn last year in terms of bad season by a regular player, not even just a power hitter, but any player in the major leagues who plays every day. It was almost historical how bad Adam was, and he sure did okay for the Nats for 2 years. He wanted a 4-year deal, got it, and went to Chicago.
And not to make excuses, because he'd be the first one not to make excuses, but DHing's a whole different world. I mean, you talk to guys, they get used to being in the flow of the game, especially at first base. You're talking to guys that come down there, you're chatting it up, you feel like you're more part of the game. You know, a lot of guys that have come over from National League teams to American League teams have that tough transition of basically pinch hitting 4 times a game. That's what it feels like. You don't feel like you're in the flow.
Well, and Adam Dunn, anybody who knows him knows, him at first base, that was like an interview show for 4 hours every night. One of the chattiest guys and one of the most affable guys in the game. So we wish Adam well. Nats don't have to play the White Sox this year. They did take 2 of 3 there last year. And here's Andres Blanco. Blanco reached on the error last time up that went for 2 bags, and that set up the Nats for their 7th inning run. High strike call from Greg Gibson, gets some cat calls from the crowd.
Well, that's a tough part about coming off the bench late in a spring training game. You got to hack. Especially a game that's taken a while. I know a strike's a strike and a ball's a ball, but when you start rolling the 70 numbers up there and the guys that are in the minor leagues, the strike zone will get bigger.
Long evening. We've been visiting with you for nearly 3 hours, and we have an inning to go here. Nationals 5-3 on the spring. The Tigers are 6-1. Best record down here. The Blue Jays won again today. They're 9-2. If spring records mean anything other than developing a good attitude in the clubhouse. Rick Eckstein alongside Davey Johnson. A hitting coach pleased with what he's seeing, and a manager who really likes what he sees down here. Remember that thing that Davey said today that I relayed that we thought was so unique, being better than the guy on the other team? Well, then we interview Ryan Zimmerman, and he picks up on that, talks about Don Kelly on the other ball club, and I want to show these guys they can't bunt on me, and I want to be better than the guy who plays here when I'm not out in the field, and pulls off a couple of defensive gems. So Davey knows what he's talking about and continually comes up with things, in some cases, we hadn't thought of before. Strebe plays it to the pitcher, who missed the bag, and the Nats have 2 on as Blanco got down the line in a hurry.
He might have flat beat that. Yeah, check out the speed of Blanco right here. Smelling the base hit. Little flinch right there, balls in the lights. Pretty good feed, little double pump, but he just flat out beat that. Check out the hustle. We talked about the hustle double the last time up. They scored an error, but I got it as a double in my book. And the infield single right there. That's just putting your head down and beating him to first.
We'll see.
He clearly beat him to first.
They've given the Tigers another error on that.
Blanco did something to upset the scorekeeper tonight.
But who would you give the error to?
And you keep score for only a few games a year.
Yeah, I'm not going to worry about it. I just have E in my book, and all that matters is the Nats inning is still alive, and Steven Lombardozzi could make this a close ball game again. Looked to me on the replay, to be quite honest about it, that Strebe, his throw, had Marte's foot on the bag before Perez got there. But hey, Yuri Perez gets down the line, he can fly, or Blanco rather, Andres Blanco, and sometimes you make your own break.
And I think that's Paul Nauert at first base. When you see the umpire signal safe, that means he beat it. When he signals safe and then he no, but when he signals safe and then he gives the sign that he's off the base,
right.
he'll tell you. He'll go safe, and he'll take both hands and sweep him toward the outfield and say he was off the base.
You're right.
Then it's an error. So if he just gives the safe call alone, it's a base hit. If he gives a safe call and then tells everybody who's off the base, then you can rule it an error.
Here's the bottom line.
Do that.
Blanco should be 2 for 2, and he's 0 for 2.
Well, he's 2 for 2 on my scorecard, whatever that's worth.
Okay. I'm with you, winner tie. Fastball up and away, 3-1. Well, Nats have had 3 hits out of the first 2 spots in the order, and 6 times on base out of these spots, and a tough luck line drive right at Peralta, the shortstop. Nats are gone in the 8th. They've stranded 11 runners tonight. Tigers lead at 6-3. At Space Coast Stadium in Vieira, Florida. Right along the rail out there near the patio. And we have 3 games left in Florida and another one at home, of course. The Yankees, Braves, and Marlins next Thursday. Then the following Wednesday, March 30th to Friday. And then, of course, right before we wing off to Chicago, the Red Sox will be at Nationals Park for a 3 o'clock game on Tuesday, April 3rd. Jeff Fulcino, Titusville, Florida, not far from here. 32-year-old right-hander who was with the Astros for 36 games last year, finished the season up with San Diego. 6'5", 285. So he's the Todd Coffey of this year's spring training bullpen. No ERA, 3 games, 3 innings, 3 hits without a run. A walk and a strikeout. Guy who's been around the big leagues for a while. Got a nice easy motion. And he misses inside, 1-1.
Fulcino sounds like a drink you might order at Starbucks.
I'll have a Fulcino Frappuccino. Good hook. And then he goes down and away to get the strikeout.
Yeah, a couple of good off-speed pitches back-to-back from Fulcino. Good curveball. And I don't know what that was, and I'm not going to guess. Maybe another curveball, just a little bit shorter.
9 strikeouts by the Nats staff of Jackson, Detweiler, Lidge, Clippard, and Fulcino tonight. And the hitter, Johnny Peralta. It's our, pardon me, Argenis Diaz now.
I said I wasn't going to guess, and then I did.
But if I remember a conversation we had last year, I think you indicated on several occasions there is a little conflict and changing of the mind that takes place in the batter's box. You know, you walk in with a plan. Things don't always work out that way, do they?
No. It's I'm going to take a pitch, I'm going to look at one, I'm going to look at one, and then the ball's halfway there, and you're like, swing, that's a good pitch, and it's by you. Or I'm going to see some pitches right here, I'm going to make this guy work, and then you look up and the third baseman's back, and I'm going to bunt right now, and it goes foul. It's that little man in your head. He talks to you sometimes in the heat of battle. Or in the booth, either way.
In this case, it's the little man in your headset.
That's a pretty good movement on a 2-seam fastball.
Yeah, his stuff is moving like crazy. And a 3-2 with 1 out. Tigers have 11 hits on the night and leading the Nats 6-3. Well, Diaz must have done a pretty good job of watching that slider from the on-deck circle not to bite on that one. And he goes high and tight with a fastball and walks it. Most of his major league time with Houston, and as we mentioned, a short stint at the end of last year with San Diego. Well hit left side, and it's off the glove of the diving Blanco, and a base hit for Don Kelly.
Blanco's had an eventful night, huh? You come into a big league game, the ball finds you. You're doing some things offensively that looks nice. I'll tell you what, anytime you get a chance of playing a big league game, doesn't matter what the score is in spring training, you do some things like he's done tonight, you open up eyes. You think Davey Johnson cares what the official score said? He's looking at the game from a different aspect. 2 good at-bats for Blanco tonight, diving all over the place on defense, taking advantage of opportunity.
Home plate umpire says no, or at least goes to appeal, and Paul Nart says yes, he did.
Let's check it out one more time. We'll play Did He Go for the first time this year. Absolutely.
Yeah, bat through the hitting zone.
Still don't understand that rule. I'll never understand that rule. It's if the batter makes an attempt at the ball, it's a strike. Everybody thinks it's if he crosses home plate, if he breaks his wrist, if he makes an attempt at the ball, it's a strike. Well, as a hitter, you make an attempt at the ball every pitch. You have to start your hands, even if you're taking the ball. So
that seems a little black and white to me. There's some gray area in there, in my opinion. You know, I used to hear the explanation that the umpire stationed on the baseline, if the barrel of the bat made it far enough to be pointing at him.
I like that.
You know, to me, that's pretty fair because that means the bat's in fair territory, and that's a swing. There's a strikeout by Fulcino, his second, but you don't really hear that anymore. I thought that was a pretty sound way to look at it.
You check out the pitch one more time. Pretty good downward tilt late. He's got a couple strikeouts with that pitch.
Omir Santos. That ball got him up around the trademark, and it's covered by Lombardozzi, and this one goes to the bottom of the ninth. Tigers put 6 runs on the board on 12 hits tonight. Central Florida, we go to the bottom of the ninth. 3, 4, and 5 due up for Washington. Now, if this was a regular season game, we'd have all kinds of awards and prizes for our defensive gem of the game.
Yeah,
Ryan Zimmerman.
Ryan Zimmerman would have won both showcases with this play. We talked to him in the dugout. He said they work on this. And it was pre-pitch preparation. He was thinking, you know what? If he bunts this ball to me, I'm going to second base. You see the throw right there. Zim with a little chuckle, but he told us, we had him on, said, I was thinking about going to second all the way. Nice play.
Yeah, we were asking the question, who even thinks of that play? Well, the answer is Ryan Zimmerman. Jose Ortega, probably the final pitcher of the night for the Tigers. Ortega from Venezuela, spent the entire 11th season at AAA Toledo and had a 6.30 ERA in 33 games for the Mud Hens. Mark Tian leads off. He got a base hit last time up. after taking over for Zimmerman. Ryan Zimmerman, by the way, went 1 for 2 with a double and a sacrifice fly tonight. Michael Morse went 0 for 3. Mark DeRosa 0 for 1 with a couple of walks. Jason Worth hit a home run and walked. Danny Espinosa was 2 for 3, and Ian Desmond went 1 for 3 with a double and a run scored.
If the gun is off tonight, this guy throws a million. That first pitch was 95.
Whoa. That is pretty quick homeward. Let's see, Ortega, 5'11", 187.
Wow.
And he's 23 years of age. Not exactly your 6'3", 225-pounder that everybody seems to be looking for these days. That is nasty.
And that ball had some cut action on it. Yeah, one of my former teammates was about that size. He threw about that hard, Pedro Martinez.
Well, you were in Oakland. Tim Hudson wasn't that big.
Yeah. And Tim Lincecum early in his career, same kind of frame, threw that hard.
What's the talk out there about the National League West this year?
Yeah, it's pretty much up for grabs. I mean, it's a pitching-rich division. I like the Rockies.
Arizona came on late. Boys night out, waiting for a foul ball or a fair one. 3 balls and 2 strikes now to Martin, leading off bottom 9. Bryce Harper will be in the lineup tomorrow at Atlanta. Adam LaRoche will return to the lineup for the Nats. And Roger Bernardino will be in left field. Up the middle, Rayburn. And that's the first out here in the bottom of the 9th. I don't think that's Ryan Rayburn out there anymore. That might be Audie Siriaco. We're back against the Yankees on Thursday. FP and I will check in with you at 1 p.m. Chin-Ming Wong against his former teammates, where he twice won 19 games. Tyler Moore with a busted bat. That is Diaz, the shortstop, 2 down. Argenis Diaz. So the Nats will appear to fall to 5-4. Tigers will go 7-1. Chet Tracy sacrificed fly last time with the bases loaded back in the 7th.
It's a good take right there.
It hit the screen and then the umpire's foot. That's the only contact we saw right there. Been a long night back there for Greg Gibson. Always love it. Guys throw a pitch, it almost leaves the ballpark. Then they paint a corner on the next one. One common theme in our first couple of telecasts has been the veteran guys in the bullpen, pretty solid. Another good outing by Brad Lidge tonight, a very quick 1-2-3 7th.
Ryan Zimmerman looked good at the plate. His hot spring continues.
I love that right field stroke of his. Wow.
I don't even say a hot spring. That's an insult. He can just flat out hit.
Yeah.
Jason Worth, nice home run to right field. Good approach all night. Mark DeRosa with a couple good at-bats.
Danny Espinosa, 2 hits. And that'll be on the corner, and the game is over. 3 hours and 11 minutes for the Tigers to beat the Nationals 6-3. And the Nats are now 5-4 on the spring. For FP, I'm Bob Carpenter. Tigers win it, out hitting the Nats 12-7. And in Washington, we'll try to get things going against the Braves tomorrow. Join us for our next spring telecast Thursday. Nats and the Yankees right here at 1 o'clock. This has been a presentation of Masson. Thanks for spending your evening with us. Good night from Vieira.